Hello and happy holidays, everyone. Welcome to our final installment of the Plastic Posse for 2024. If you are listening to the Plastic Posse podcast for the first time, we're a bunch of friends who celebrate the wonderful hobby of scale modeling and the global community that supports it. Before we get going, we want to give a special shout out to our Patreon supporters, especially the deputy marshals. Each of you help us make the Plastic Posse possible, and we are grateful for your support. We also extend thanks to our podcast partners, namely Tankcraft, Tamiya USA, Bases by Bill, and AK Interactive. Let's start by catching up with everybody. It's been a while for me, at least, so I'm interested to hear from everyone. So with that, let's kick it off with Jensen.
Hello. Obviously, wasn't in the last episode. Computer died, so I had to get that replaced, and I'm back with a bang. Yeah, been good. Really excited for Christmas as always. Christmas is like the best time of the year. I won't have anyone disagree with that. Modeling wise, very slowly plugging away at the mini art tempo. I thought that was going to be a quick build, considering Jackson managed to get it done in like 6 hours before SMC. But I've just been really slowly plugging away. I think the fact it's been so slow is because it's a bit like doing a plane. You've got to do like the cab, paint it, weather it, then seal it up, and the rear compartment, paint it, weather it, and then go back to building. And that's what really slows my rhythm down. So I think I've kind of learned that doing models like that just aren't really good for wanting to do a model after a show. Like that was supposed to be the first build after SMC. It was supposed to be quick, motivating, fun. But unfortunately, I really did pick the wrong subject. I should have picked like any sort of armor that was literally slap it together, a bit like what you're doing with the Dicamax. Slap it together, get it painted, something quick before the end of the year. But that was a mistake. But 2025 is going to be all things with wings. I have an ungodly amount of Edward kits, and I'm really feeling the aircraft bug. And TJ got a gold master at SMC, so they can't be that difficult. So yeah, all things with wings next year.
Nice. Speaking of TJ, kick it over to you.
I haven't been doing a whole lot. Truth be told, I've kind of, I don't know, had a couple things going on. One, I had a hole cut in my face. That sucked. So it was very uncomfortable to, look at things for a long period of time because I had stitches pulling my one eye in the corner and it kind of sucked. It was just uncomfortable. So I just kind of hung low. And then, my friend, was like, "Hey, you want to get Call of Duty Black Ops 6?" I was like, ugh. Yeah, sure, I'll play with you. So I've been doing that a lot, because I forgot how much I like playing video games. But I have been working on my MiG-21R. Uh, Last night was a big step. I primed it, so it's all the cockpit's temporarily sealed up. I'm using the other canopy that I'm not using because it comes with two options. So I got that one ready to go. I don't have, I think, any seams to really address on it. I'm gonna look at it again. I let it sit overnight, and so I can look at it with fresh eyes after I've had a little bit of coffee. And yeah, if that's the case, probably to sometime this afternoon, I'll probably get the first bit of color down on it. Which it's exciting. I love that. It was a good kit. I love the subject. I love the MiG-21. It's my favorite jet. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got going on. I haven't really done a whole lot of modeling, unfortunately. I'm kind of, I don't know. I miss it a little bit. This is how long it's been since I've done any modeling. I put an enamel wash on the anti-glare shield, and before I put the front windscreen on, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and clean it up." So I grabbed one of my little, I got these like kind of cotton tipped brushes. I don't know, they're a makeup thing, and I dipped in what I thought was enamel thinner or odorless thinner. No, it was lacquer thinner. And I'm like rubbing it off. I'm like, why is the paint coming off? I'm like, this is like odorless thinner shouldn't do this. I'm like, what the hell? So I got another one, dipped some more on it. I did it again. I'm like, what in the actual F is going on here? And then I looked over. I'm like, oh, that's because I used or I used lacquer thinner and not the odorless thinner that I have sitting next to it. It's like, oh my God, has it really been that long since I've painted anything that I mix up two simple thinners? I was like, oh Lord. So I had to repaint that, which was not a big deal, but I was very embarrassed at myself. I was like, man, I'm glad no one's here watching me.
That's pretty good. Jensen's used to that, so welcome to his world.
Ouch. The abuse starts early.
Well, thanks, TJ. Let's go over to the guy in Utah who's been having a hoot lately.
I assume that means me.
Yes, sir, Doug.
Okay. Well, first I'll talk about the hoot. As most of you know, I work for the Clint's Reptile Room here in Utah, And last night, some guys brought in a couple of owls, and so not expecting, we didn't know they were coming. And I got to hold a barn owl last night, and it was amazing. It's beautiful, and it also weighed almost nothing, even though it's what, a foot and a half tall. Yeah, that was a fun night. When it comes to modeling, I got started off pretty well in the last few weeks. I started two kits because I just felt like it. I've been wanting to do a Y-wing again, so I started my Y-wing. And for the models for heroes, scale models for vets, I started a Mustang, the Edward Mustang. I've never built an Edward kit before, so that was kind of fun. That's fun. I've got the fuselage together on it, and the wings haven't. I need to sand a few things out, but otherwise, it's in pretty good shape. The Y wing, I'm playing with the cockpit. Added some little wire and some guitar string to put some tubing in the cockpit to kind of expand it a little bit. I made some really simple seat belts for the seat because it needs more. I mean, it's just a little bucket seat. If you don't have anything on it, it looks kind of plain. And I was working on that facade a little bit. I've got some of the brickwork done. I have questions for people. I mean, if anybody can tell me if there's a good way to put like a plaster kind of cover over something on it and then kind of crack it off so you still have the detail underneath without actually having to carve the detail through like what looks like plaster. I don't know. That's something I'm thinking about. But unfortunately, this book just came out, and I'm a painfully slow reader, and I've been trying to get caught up on that series and then read this new book. So that's kind of slowed me down the last week or so. Anyway,
No,
that's me.
nice, nice. Yeah, I'm pretty jealous of the owls. That looked pretty cool. I went to an owl cafe once in Tokyo, and it was a blast.
They're beautiful. They're amazing birds.
Yeah, yeah.
They kind of creep me out. Like when you hear them like hooting, like I'll hear them every once in a while when I'm like walking outside in the morning, like at 5 o'clock in the morning, or before, and I would wake up, even leave for work at like 4:30. It's like dark as hell outside, and you just hear like the hooting, and I'm like, I feel like I'm like in a horror movie or like a Halloween movie or something. Like I love owls. Owls are cool, but yeah, I don't know. Kind of gives me a little tingle down my spine.
Yeah, they're a hell of an animal. We had a great horned owl growing up in our backyard, and it killed a red-tailed hawk one night. And it was weird to wake up and see like giant hawk parts around the backyard. And when you realize, oh, the feathers lead to this giant tree, and that's where hooting comes from. So yeah, they're just a beast. Well, with that, we're gonna go to Doug's neighbor, Scott. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. It's good to hang out with you guys again. We've had not a lot of modeling going on. It sounds like we've all had kind of life events get in the way. For me, it was a combination of a hurt dog and a serious case of stomach flu, and then my PC decided to have some major issues. It's kind of took the opportunity to do some upgrading, thinking it would be an easy thing, and it really was a challenge. But got everything done and upgraded, and my PC is nice and stable again and runs fast, so it's all good, right? Last thing I worked on was the scale models for vets. We helped them out with their fundraiser. I think they met and exceeded their goal, so they were really happy. So shout out to Stefan and Miranda for what they do over there in the Netherlands and their crew there in Europe. And we're big fans of those guys, and they're attached with Malcolm and Models for Heroes. So good folks. So that was good. And then started painting some 35th scale faces with the help of my friend Barry Biediger, who's here and who's a really good painter, and he kind of made it a little less scary. So I've been doing a little bit of that, and people have been contributing figures. My good friend Grant here sent me a couple of really nice Alpine figures, so thank you for that, Grant. You're a gentleman. But anyway, yeah, that's what I've been up to. Nothing
Nice.
cool like having dinner at an owl cafe or anything, but
No, that's great. And let's continue going west. So, Grant, how are you today?
Good, good. Glad to see you back safe in one piece. Everything's been okay. I was sick a couple weeks ago, so got through that. I did help out with a scale challenge a little bit for the vets in the Netherlands there. I went on with Scott and Doug for a while, did some painting. That was a fun time, had a great time. Finished up another bust last week. Other than that, doing Christmas parties with work and friends. That's taken a lot of time out of my place, but I have been doing a little bit of work here and there. So that's about it. I mean, living vicariously through JB and seeing all these great pictures from the museum and the show and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, it's been good.
Nice. And I'll just round us out quickly. It's been a good long introduction. So yeah, I've been from a bench perspective wise, I have a Dicker Max ready to paint. It's a Hobby Boss's kit I picked up in Korea. Great little kit. Honestly, a slammer. Kind of three nights worth of work, and it's ready to go. So we'll post a bunch of pictures online for that. And then I'm also working on a U-Star King Tiger full interior 148 scale. This was a Secret Santa gift from Ian iBones Models last year. So just trying to crank that out before the end of the year. It's something I like to do, or at least get it close to finishing before the end of the year for the gift exchange. So, but with that, like everybody's mentioned, and probably some people have seen, spent a lot of time in Korea. We'll talk about that soon. Before I jump into Korea, I want to kick it over to Doug to talk about what we saw online.
Yeah, every episode we love to talk about the great work that we see on our Facebook page, the Plastic Posse. So many people will submit their work every week, and we want to talk about it. So let's go ahead and kick it off with JB. Why don't you start us?
Yeah, one of the pieces that stuck out to me was it was just posted within the last 24 hours is Rich Brew's Hunty by Zaba Art. I think some of us, as you know, have a soft spot for Zaba Art pieces, and especially when they're done really well. So I loved Rich's little Hunty dude or dudette and just the colors on it, the purple mushroom top and the greens, just the vibrancy of it. It's really nice. And I wish I could paint like that. And I love the little guy's eye too, staring down at the ground. So really wonderful work and just kind of exemplifies what I'd love to achieve one day. So yeah, shout out to Rich for his work there.
Agreed. How about you, Grant? What did you see that you liked?
I went with Richard Craig's 1/16 scale Tacom Jeep. Really nice build, nice kit. Did a really good job on it. He's got some stowage in there from Blast and also our good friends at Value Gear. So Steve, Steve did some great work on there. But Richard, you did a great job. Really like the color, really like the stowage and everything, and fantastic work.
Yeah, I agree, Grant. That's a sharp. I like what he did with the front bumper, and I actually picked up some of those Blast Models pieces. I've got a couple of these cheap kits I've been collecting, aftermarket items to do a super detailed build, and it's a pretty sharp build, Richard. Great job.
Yeah, nice job on the 50, by the way. Also, really looks good.
All right, let's go over to TJ.
Yeah, I picked Stuart McClellan's PKA Alf G Gustav. Yeah, Stuart's work's cool. He's a really good machine creator modeler, and I love Gustav. And he did it in the classic whitewash scheme, that's like a true old school classic take on that kit. I think that might even be the box art. I know one of them has that as the box art drawn by Co. And he did a really good job. I love it. I love the Gustav. It's the whole open design of those PKA suits is oh god, I love it so much. It made me want to get one of mine out. I have I think two, and I didn't, but I'm trying not to be distracted. But I was like, man, I really want to build one of those. So yeah, good job, man. That was really cool.
Yeah, I almost picked that one too. He also did a Gundam that was pretty rad also. So great work.
Yeah.
Jensen, what did you see this time?
Okay, so by Stefan Ortmans. I know he gets mentioned a lot on this podcast, but he's Canadian Leopard C2 Mexus. It's the Meng kit. I just love this model. I love seeing it come together. It's very, very filthy. And I mean that in all the best ways. It's very heavily weathered, very dirty, very dusty. And what I like about that is he's managed to get a very heavily weathered look without losing any of the underlying effects, like the paint effects are still there. He's got the textures, he's got the layers. It's just a very well finished model. So it's very heavily weathered without being okay, that's overdone. It's just really nice.
All right, Scott.
Yeah, there's a guy that posts on our group from time to time named French Modeler, and he posted like a little vignette or diorama of an armored car that's on a rail car, and it's a really good piece. I like the composition. The paintwork is really good. There's a lot going on in a small space. I really like it. It's sharp. Caught my eye. it's got one of those really nice Copper State models armor car on the rail car. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I saw one. It's from, and I'm sorry about my butchering of your name, Babak Chaharlangi. He did the Tamiya 135th scale Chieftain. Really, really well done. I like the way he weathered it. I like the color overall. He added some 3D printed parts. Just very well executed. And yeah, everybody check it out. So we're gonna switch over to JB and Scott. They're gonna to update the Posse group build.
Thanks, Doug. Yeah, we're just finally wrapping things up, getting everything ready to go. JB and I have been shipping coins and poker chips to participants who finished. So you should start seeing those packages soon. We unfortunately had so many of you finish that we ran out of coins. So if you don't see your package yet, as soon as we get our next order of coins, we'll finish filling those orders out. So be patient, but you should see some of those soon, with one notable exception. Sorry to our neighbors to the north, but your postal workers decided to go on strike and we're not allowed to ship anything to Canada right now. So we'll wait and hopefully that will be resolved soon. If not, John, I think you were talking about the possibility of maybe going to Heritage Con this year. Maybe we can figure out another way around this blockade.
Yeah, I think that's like you covered it well, Scott. Unfortunately, Canada is shut down for lack of better terms, and but we're working on it, and we'll have everybody's packages out, either slightly before Christmas or slightly after. So they're coming, I guess, bottom line, and just give us a little bit more time. It's been pretty crazy. Like Scott mentioned, was not expecting this many people to finish and support this wonderful group build, and again, just shows the wonderful community we have. And later in the episode, you'll hear from all of our special guests: Rick, Martin, Adam, John. Ooh, John, I used John's name. That's weird. Spud, I should say. Luftraum, so Chris, and the Sam Dwyer. So it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about all the work that's been submitted, some of the ones that stand out, and then those ones that stand out, we'll give you a little something extra. So, but it's been a lot of fun, and can't wait to take a break from doing a group build like that and committing to sending out that many gifts, just because logistics, it wins wars, and we know that now. So back to Scott for any final words.
No, I think just more than anything, just to echo John, thank you for all the support. It was an amazing group build. And so stay tuned later in the episode, as JB said, and we'll have a great discussion on that. But great way to finish out 2024 and a great way to celebrate what was our 100th episode. So just really kind of grateful to the Posse community for all of that. Well, our friend JB, as usual, has been touring around the world, visiting Korea and going to the demilitarized zone. And so let's go catch up with him. I know a lot of the stuff that he did was hobby related. So John, talk us through your latest international trip.
Yeah, so I went to Korea for 2 weeks over the week of Thanksgiving and the week prior. It was a lot of fun. I went with my wife, her sister, and her partner, and it was a great time. We went to see a lot of things, and I thought scale modeling would just be a little bit of a side quest during our time in Korea, but it actually turned out a lot more than that, just because fortuitous timing of a major event they had, and just the public transportation in Seoul allowed me to return to hobby shops, and on a regular basis, dare I say. They were actually pretty close to the things we were doing. So like I said, we in Seoul most of the time. That's where all the hobby related stuff I did. Notably, they have 2 Tamiya plow model stores there, and the Tamiya stores there, and I believe this is accurate, those stores, I think of them as franchised businesses that support Tamiya. I don't think they're directly linked to Tamiya per se, but they are franchise businesses, like if you were in America and you owned, dare I say, a McDonald's or something. So they are still Tamiya stores, but they aren't. I don't think they're directly, from a business perspective, linked to the mothership. They're franchised, but regardless, they're really cool because they have literally every Tamiya product inside, and they're extremely clean and just very well organized, and just a great time. Also, there's Gundam shops there too, which are cool. The Gundam base stores, some of them are just incredibly big, and again, they're just, dare I say, beautiful inside. They're super crisp. They have displays, and I went to 2 Gundam based stores, and Gundam is huge in South Korea, where I'm riding on the metro system, and they have ads for Gundam in the metro system. It was really crazy to see that, and also just really cool. And when you go into these stores, there are long lines, tons of sold out stuff. Every row has a clear case on top of it that shows the piece that is built. And yeah, it was just neat. I'm happy to see it on such a scale, in a culture essentially. It's part of the culture, I think, and especially when you see ads on the subway. That's wild. But really, the two shops that stand out the most, there's Joy Hobby and Neighbor Hobby. These are your traditional scale modeling shops, and they have everything from like airsoft and, dolls and RC to extreme amounts of scale models. And that was Joy Hobby. So Joy Hobby is on the third floor of a huge kind of mall. I guess you could say a department store mall. Really easy to get to right off the subway line. Literally, you walk out the subway, you see the giant store, you walk in it, you go up to the third floor, and then you're there. And it has everything, especially from injection molded plastic kit perspective. Tons of stuff. They had Warhammer, but it was just really affordable. And I say affordable because for kits, the Tamiya kits were a little bit cheaper, not as cheap as going to Japan itself, but certainly cheaper than America. Trumpeter Ryefield RFM, Tacom, those were honestly about the same price as America. Trumpeter was a little less, to be honest. But really, the key unlock there is Academy, as you know. I mean, it makes sense. They're made in Korea, so there's just zero markup, and the stuff is so cheap. So I bought, what is it? I think it's the K2 Panther main battle tank, huge kit over there for like $20, and here they're going for 60. So it just kind of shows you the difference in markup when they come through a U.S. distributor that essentially doubles the price. The biggest regret is not having enough room to bring everything back. And then the other shop was Neighbor Hobby, and this one is like a core, fully dedicated to scale modeling only. It's actually kind of difficult to get to the first time because you're wondering where the hell it's at. You come out of the subway, you walk 15 minutes, maybe 10. Super, super easy walk. And it's in the basement of this giant building. And you wouldn't know where it is, except there's a little sign that kind of points you back around into this garage area. You go down these steps, you walk down a corridor, you turn the corner, and then there's these two sliding doors that it's like King Tut's tomb opens up. And there's just everything and anything related to injection molded kits, aftermarket, resin figures. And what's important is if you go there, I would highly recommend checking online. I went to that store at least 3 times I was there because I just kept going back because I would be like, oh, this was cool. I bought this. And then it's like, oh, I look online. I'm like, they have that too. So I would highly recommend go online, look, especially the aftermarket, I should say. They had everything from Def there, which I've heard some people, falsely claim Def is not a great company. They're the gold standard in aftermarket. They are wonderful. Their wheels are fantastic. I would highly recommend checking them out for aircraft, armor, even some civilian accessories. And they're Korean owned and operated. It's just fantastic. And I think I literally bought half the Def stock while there because they're so good. And I kept messaging folks like, hey, do you need this? And they're like, yeah, buy me this. So I got most of that mailed out. But I bought a lot of Def things because they're friggin' awesome and they're just cheap. Another brand that comes to mind while I was there was Tetra Models. I believe they're South Korean too. So I picked up some photo etch sets, which were incredibly affordable. And then there was another brand, I think it was KA, which was like photo etch and resin cans for aircraft. But I got a sweet photo etch set. I think I paid it was kind of expensive in terms of photo etch sets for Korea. It was like 30 or $40. Over here, I think it probably goes for 60 to 80. And it was for that K2 Panther. It had all the turned brass and aluminum, all the reflective stuff and sheets of photo etch. So just really cool to see how the hobby, that from that commercial perspective. And I always try to find a hobby shop where I'm traveling abroad. So if you're going to Seoul, those two shops, Joy Hobby and Neighbor, are super easy to get to. And then lastly, I'll just round this out. Fortuitous timing, as I mentioned, there's a show there that was held at the War Memorial. And when I say War Memorial, that's their classification for their military museum in Seoul. It is I guess you could say it's an active memorial. Think of it in a way of like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, the Eternal Flame, at other memorials. They have that piece there. It's a grand, huge building and really tells the complete history of the Korean military. And I feel bad for Korea. They've been invaded a lot. I mean, in between Japan, China, it's been really interesting. It was just a really interesting day reading through all of the history, and there were some US subtitles, but Google is a wonderful tool for translating, and you could spend hours in there learning the history all the way up to the current conflicts with North Korea and seeing a lot of the stuff they captured from the DMZ, or things flying over like drones and other types of intelligence gathering equipment. So in that building, there is a special hall, and while I was there, I was fortunate enough to go to WMMF, which was the World Military Modeling Fair. It lasted a little bit over a week. They had domestic entries on the first weekend, which I saw, and there was probably 200 or 300 models at that time. And then the last weekend I was there was, I guess you could say, the international entries, and that was a lot of folks from China, Taiwan, Japan, and a few other Asian countries. They all came in, and it was really kind of crazy. I didn't know what to expect, but I ended up befriending the show chairman who was there, and it was just a really great experience, especially on the opening day, Saturday. Unfortunately, I only had like an hour and a half that morning because I was flying out that afternoon, but I squeezed in enough time to go back because I thought it would be cool, and was fortunate enough to meet a lot of, especially the Japanese armor modelers. I met one in the main area outside where all the tanks are, said hi to him. And the easiest way to communicate was I pulled up his Facebook profile picture and showed that I was friends with him. And that was the easiest way because, other than that, he's probably like, who is this weird person trying to talk to me, where we don't really have a language to communicate. But it was really cool. They had translators, which I thought was amazing. It was very interesting where English served as some of those connecting languages between the different Asian countries. I thought that was interesting. But they also had translators that spoke Japanese and Korean who could facilitate conversations. That was really cool. It reminded me of SMC, is where the judges who were invited from around the South Pacific, their work was displayed in glass cases at the front of the exhibition, and I thought it was really great. It was cool to see a lot of these pieces that you see online in person, meet the folks, and I just wish I had more time. I will say they embrace. I think we call it. I think we can call it community awards. The poker chips, the coins. They really embrace that over there. The show itself had gold, silver, bronze, or 1, 2, 3, essentially for the major categories of aircraft, armor, diorama. But I think what was equally as important to the show organizer was the community awards. So you had, they had actually an award that was presented that was from Mosin. There were a couple special awards that I saw in Europe that were there as well. They're kind of like the dog tag in the nice wooden box. And then there was Taiwanese awards, and probably, there was twice as many of these community awards as opposed to the actual show itself that was awarded through that team of judges. But bottom line, it was a great show. They had a formal opening ceremony where like people were dressed in suits. I felt like a bum. I was in a $4 hoodie that I purchased the day before at a Daiso, which is like a cheap Dollar General in Korea. And I walk in there like just a bum off the street, and they're in suits taking pictures and having a formal ceremony with government officials. And I'm like, wow, this is I am not dressed for today's events. But it was, like I said, it was a great time. I'd love to get back and spend the whole weekend with them, just because it was again that sense of community, very much similar to SMC, where the show, the display of work, is the core of what that event is. There were a few vendors in the back, but that's not the point of that show. The point of the show is to show the work of these individuals from not only Korea, but the surrounding regions, and really treat it as an art display, I'd say, because it was curated throughout the week, where the show chairman, he spent every day with some helpers in the hall, essentially curating that little piece of the museum and talking to guests as they came in. And on the last Saturday I was there, the room filled up, and again, just really cool, and just a great experience to see something like that in a different country. And then I'll finish with DMZ, as Scott mentioned. Went up to the DMZ for a day, and that was really cool. I didn't really know what to expect, but when we get out, you go through the military checkpoints. They check your passports. You go to this essentially ridge line, and that looks over North Korea. I thought it was really weird because you get out of the bus and you just hear K-pop blasting, and they legit have these giant speakers that blast K-pop and other types of, South Korean. They said propaganda, which, it's a battle of speakers at the border sometimes, where their speakers, I guess, go like 20 kilometers because they're pretty well engineered. The North Koreans, shout things back, but it was just really unique. We couldn't take any pictures looking in North Korea. I think there had been some recent escalation of tension, because I had looked on Reddit, and back in like September you could take pictures, but it was interesting. There's essentially a beautiful cafe on this mountaintop with these giant glass windows that you can look over, and there's North Korea right there. You can see the flag on the pole, but there's this zone between us and them that's a barren landscape. And to be honest, it reminded me of some major bases in Afghanistan where you're just on this, hey, we're going to have coffee and espresso, and outside there's like a conflict zone. So it was an active conflict zone. Also went to what they call the third tunnel there, which is one of the four tunnels that they've discovered so far. I think they discovered it in the late 70s or early 80s, and had the opportunity to go down. And like literally you go underground like 350 meters, and then you walk towards North Korea. And they were saying it's one of the closest spots you can get to the actual North Korean border, just based on your underground, but they've walled it off with like concrete. You can look through a little portal to see into this, like the true DMZ. But yeah, just another unique experience, and learning about how they found them, where a defector came and talked about, oh yeah, they're digging tunnels. I don't know where that, I have the general region, but what they did was they like drilled holes, put water pipes in, and then listened for, seismic activity. And I was like, oh God, being down here and digging this, crazy. And you can actually see the spot where they stopped digging when they were discovered. But bottom line, Korea is an amazing place. Highly recommended. It's very affordable. When you can do all you can eat Korean barbecue for like $12, it's a great place to go. But yeah, I'll shut up, and we can keep moving. But yeah, it was a great time.
It was good of you to stimulate the national economy with your multiple trips to the hobby stores too.
Yeah, they declared martial law after I left because I had, taken so much there. I literally filled like I took a picture. I'll post it online after Christmas just because I had to blur things out because of Christmas gifts that I bought people. And I don't want any spoilers, but yes, but hey, man, that exchange rate, holy cow, it's really good. And a lot of stuff I bought you just can't get. So yeah, they didn't like that, so they declared martial law the day I left, or 2 days after I left.
Back to your death model stuff. I've been you got me a set of resin wheels for my Tacom 16 scale Jeep, literally half what I would have paid for it here, and the death model wheels are beautiful. So yeah, excited to get those in my hands. So
yeah. I love you saw some fantastic models. I mean, you were able to see like some of the ship models there. I love them. There's a guy there from, oh God, what is the name of the web page? Studio Blue Ocean. He did like the German Graf Zeppelin.
Yes.
And they a couple like the Missouri with the full crew on 1/211
Yeah.
scale. Yeah. Oh, that was a beautiful works. Just amazing stuff.
Yeah, I had posted about going to the show, and some people had, dare I say, warned me like, hey, be prepared for the awesome ship models. And I wasn't. And one of the pieces I saw that stood out too was it's online. I would consider it a viral, scale model, where it was the block of epoxy, water with the torpedo that blew up the U-boat.
Right.
That was sitting there, and it's like, whoa. So
Yeah.
just really, really well done. And then there was also, I think it's HS model. I feel like I may be screwing up the brand, but they had their Arleigh Burke class conversions there. And on Sprue Brothers, they go for like $600. And I was texting Jackson because I was like, I will get you one. They're like under 300 here.
Wow.
But unfortunately, the box is ginormous, and I had already filled up all of my, space. But it was, yeah, just the exchange rate and the ability to get with the local manufacturers, it was just cool.
Yeah.
But the ships were off the charts. I also loved this. I think it was a research vessel or something. Just the orange, just the colors. They had a float plane on it. It was really cool. I have pictures of that as well. So it was just neat. And then I'll also say it was great when I was walking around and I'm like, I have seen this piece before. And I pulled up pictures from SMC, and there was a work in the figure category that we had saw at SMC, which I thought was really neat.
Cool. Yeah, that's You got a couple models too, though, like models that need to be finished. So from some very,
I
some,
know that's a good point. Thank you. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So great point, Grant. When I was over there, I had reached out to Sungjun Jang, and he's a scale modeler, posts a ton on Facebook, and we had communicated a bunch in the past, and I was hoping to meet up with him, but he's like, "Oh no, unfortunately, I can't, just with work and everything." But he was kind enough to send via courier two pieces, and one of them was I think it's the Bronco Panzer III. Oh gosh, I forget the mark, but it's got the big wheels on it, and it's one of my favorite pieces from him, one of my favorite vehicles. And he's like, "Oh, I'll give this to you because I know you like it." I'm like, "Oh man, I can't accept it." He's like, "No, take it." And he is really the influence of the Panzer Gray Blue on me too. This is just awesome, and I'll have to throw it in the studio box and take some pictures of it because it's so cool. And then he sent me home with a Walker Bulldog as well that he was working on, and he's like, "Here, you take this too, and finish painting it." So I'm like, "This is awesome." So just the community and the just super nice people, and thanks for reminding me. That was great, and they survived. I cannot believe that. I put them in a Tamiya Sherman box, wrapped them in bubble wrap, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like a barbarian," but they made it, no issues. So yeah, it was great.
The language of scale modeling is pretty powerful, man.
Yeah, it was great.
I think you and I were talking when you were at the show and talking about how the Asian style is a little more, the colors are a little more vibrant than maybe the American or European styles are, the very, very vivid greens and reds and some of those tones.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, and this might be a controversial statement, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's really shown that the world has evolved in scale modeling far past American scale modeling, and I know that's a hard thing to say because we're all of us here, and Jensen probably would be considered an American modeler. He would consider that a privilege, I think, actually. But it just shows, like, you look and you see those pieces. And again, I think it goes towards the mentality of the event, and it's not just about, like, there's a lot of expression in these pieces where I find that, and I'm a victim of it too in America, where you build a piece and it's the vehicle, and you build it from like a technical achievement perspective, like I'm replicating this tank as opposed to I'm going to tell this story with this tank. And it even comes down to the styles as well. And there was a lot more, like you said, Scott, vibrancy of the pieces, more dramatic scenes, and just that notion of interest was higher, I believe, than some North American scale modeling events, actually, most of them. So it's just interesting to see. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'll say, listeners, if you feel differently, if you agree, please reach out. But I do believe the world has evolved more than the United States in terms of scale modeling.
Well, great photos and a great trip summary. Sounds like a blast, and it looks like the food wasn't too bad either.
No, not at all.
And to clarify that point, JB, what you're saying is not that American models are bad.
No,
it's just our style is not the same.
Exactly. We have wonderful American modelers. Our technical expertise. There are some damn good American modelers, and I'm not saying that at all. Like you said, it's more of the style, and it's exactly that. We have great American models, and also I'll acknowledge this is a stylistic, very subjective statement I'm making from my perspective. That's how I feel. So I'm sure people feel different, and that's okay. That's the best part about this, is we can talk and debate about it. So if you want to have a healthy discussion, please submit your feedback.
You can send all those emails to aubergine@plasticpossepodcast.com. He's not taking the bait. All right.
The Plastic Posse podcast is sponsored by Tankcraft. In addition to their awesome cutting mats, Tankcraft also makes some incredible scale modeling tools for your workbench. Want to keep extra thin cement off your bench and in the bottle where it belongs? Check out Tankcraft Glue Base, designed to stop glue spills in their tracks. The glue base is made from solid mill aluminum and comes with a stable rubber base pad and can accommodate most square and round cement bottles. And while you're there, check out their line of cutting mats and other unique modeling tools. Remember, Posse listeners get 15% off their first order by using the code POSSE15. So head on over to tankcraft.com. That's TANKRAFT.com.
Well, thanks, John. Let's kick it over to TJ for some discussion.
All right. Well, it's the end of 2024, so I feel like we've done this probably every year. Um, and I like doing it. It's always fun. It's a year retrospective, and then looking into 2025, because this is what our fourth year of doing this podcast, which is crazy to say. So yeah, just kind of wanted to. I always do like a little my own personal like year in review. I make a little album on Facebook of all the models I built this year. So wanted to talk about that with all you guys. What you got done this year, how you felt if you felt you progressed in your modeling this year, and is there anything you didn't finish and you kind of wanted to, and then also looking into 2025. So I guess I'll go ahead and start. I finished 7 models this year. That's a historically low output for me. I don't think I've built that few models since I've started. Maybe 1 year, 10 years ago when I kind of took a extended break. Yeah, so that was pretty low for me. I was a little surprised it was so few, and I have time. I mean, we still have 15 days, 16 days to finish. I don't think I'll finish anything before the end of the year. I would be surprised if I do. Um, I'll make progress on things, but yeah. So I did 2 machine and Krieger subjects, 2 figures, and 2 tanks. Three tanks. So compared to last year, I built more armor because I think last year I built 1 armor piece, maybe 2. So I did do 2 or at least 1 more. And one of them was that terrible, terrible Musaru kit, which made me want to punch holes in the wall. It was one of the worst kits I've ever built. I never want to do that again. And then my figures were okay this year. I feel like I didn't do as good at SMC with figures this year as I did last year. So that was kind of a little bit of kick in the pants, but I think they also think they judged a little harder this year with figures, so that's okay. And yeah, that was my year. I wanted to do more. I normally like to do like 10. I know some years I've done like in the 20s, but a lot of those would be figures, which isn't that hard to do. Yeah, so I haven't gone through and counted how many things I started and did not finish this year. That number is more than 7. That I can promise you. So I'm looking at like 3 of them right now that are just on my desk, and I put a bunch of things away. So there's probably at least 10 things that I started and just didn't get around to. What about the rest of you guys? What about you, Jensen? What did you finish this year, buddy?
That's such a great question. I don't even know myself. I think I think it's pushing 3. And that's a push, if I could be cheeky enough to say that. But like start of the year, I finished the old Rubicon LVT. That it was supposed to be for a 48-hour build and it ended up taking 4 weeks. So that got like half done, then finished off at the start of the year. Then I did a whole lot of nothing for a long time, tracks. And then I got back. I don't know. I finished off the Jumbo, the main Jumbo, and the Dio for that. Well, the vignette for that. Then I started that M3 Lee for SMC. No, not the M3 Lee, M3 Stewart for SMC. Obviously, big build for that with the base and the barn and all that. Can I call it finished? Not really.
I mean, it was
It's
on
90
display at the show.
Yeah,
That's
it was.
That's enough to say it was finished. It may not be finished to what you wanted it or were expecting it to be, but you can't say that's unfinished. Incomplete, maybe.
Yes, there we.
But
Yeah,
finished.
that's a perfect way of putting it. Yeah. So yeah, 3 things: LVT, Jumbo, 2 and 2 of them were already part started, and then the M3 Stewart with the barn vignette and everything in it. Which I could sound annoyed about the like completion rate, but considering I spent a lot of the year doing nothing and how much work went into that M3 build, it's like, you know what, fair enough. Like I reap what I sow. I got out what I put in, so I can't complain. I started a lot, certainly didn't finish it, but yeah, I think 3 is my finish for this year, which I think that's on par or maybe less than last year. I've got worse. I've noticed. I had 1 year I completed like nearly like 9, and I was like, that's a good year. Next year I want to do more, and every year it's got less and less.
But how do you feel about what you did this year?
Genuinely, I feel actually somehow my modeling's improved. Weirdly, like when I look at the LVT,
I mean, that's such a low bar.
I know I can only go up.
Not hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you're at the bottom, all you can do is go up.
Only one way to go. So yeah, like
Couldn't
the
get worse.
LVT. Shut up. LVT really I went like extreme modulation on that. Me and JB did a swap. I imagine he's regretting that. So the
Yeah,
LVT very.
You definitely came out on top for that.
Oh, definitely. I always do whenever it comes to a swap.
Yeah, it's in the bin already. Recycling was yesterday, so it made it into the plastic. So
LVT, I really like the paint effect I got on that, and the weathering was quite nice. So yeah, happy with that. The Jumbo, that was more. I was happy with the base work and the snow and ice weathering on the tank itself. And the M3, loved the OD finish I got on it. Like I generally think it could have been called a finished model without any weathering because I really liked how it looked. And that whole M3 build with the barn and that, I just think because that was the first time I ever tried to scratch build a structure, and how it, and I've still not put any pictures online of how that turned out. I think that was
Thank you for that, by the way.
Welcome.
No one wants to see it. I'm saving everyone's eyes.
It's true. It's true. They'll see it. It's like, oh, all this for that wasn't worth it. But yeah, the amount of work that went into that, and I was just like, actually, even for me to say that looks pretty good. Yeah, I kind of surprised myself a bit. I learned that. And I'm already waiting for TJ to make a comment. I'm a better modeler than I think I am.
Agree 100%.
Yep, I would say the same thing.
Oh, please. No, but Jenna, like, yeah.
Oh,
like,
go on. Oh, go on.
No, yeah. Like, when I get my head down and it's a project I'm really, really enthused about, I can produce pretty good work. It's just that keeping my attention and keeping my enthusiasm, that's what I struggle with. That's the hardest bit. But yeah, I generally think my modeling actually has improved this year, which, I always say low bar. But yeah, I'm not in a bad, moody position as I have previously been. Because it's like, okay, I might have produced less, but I think the standard's better. And I'm happy about that.
That's kind of how I am this year. I just looked at my yearbook last year. I finished 17 things. Now, granted, most of them were figures. So that anyone that paints figures knows that you can paint more figures in less time than you can, or you can paint more figures in the same amount of time it would take you to do like a full 35th scale model or a 48 scale airplane or something like that. Like you can, if you're painting a figure this big, yeah, you got to take time, but you can realistically work for a week, and if you work a couple hours a day and be done. So yeah, but I do, like you were saying, I'm kind of in that same boat. I feel like what I did was better this year. I think my figures were better, even though they didn't perform as well at shows. Which, okay, I mean, I do like to use that as a bar for like how I feel like I'm progressing, because it's someone else's feedback that is hopefully a neutral party. Yeah, no, I would say I think you did good this year, buddy.
Thanks, Dad.
You are a better modeler than you think you are.
Ah, shucks.
You still suck though.
I was waiting for it.
Doug, what about you? How was your 2024?
You asked the question. I saw it on our plan for this episode, and I wasn't sure if I could think of anything, but I've thought of quite a few. I have done quite a few figures that I 3D printed, mostly turtles. I did all those turtles. I painted a few of those. Those were a lot of fun. I did my red metallic TIE fighter early in the year. I did my Messerschmitt 109 from Tamiya. That one was fun. I mean, I'm kind of rusty when it comes to aircraft, so that was fun to get back into that. Let's see, I did that little M8, the mortar carriage, the Tamiya little 48 scale. That was a ton of fun. I have my oh shoot, what's it called? I have my little the one I did for the group build. And I'm drawing a blank.
The Nashorn, right?
Nashorn. Oh my gosh, yeah. I did the Nashorn. I did that winter camo Nashorn. That was awesome to do. Just, I mean, open top isn't usually a thing I do, and I didn't really do much with the interior because I'm me, and because it would, I was just trying to do this for the group build, get it done in time. But that was so cool. I also did the orc bust carrying the big rock that Grant and I did with Rick for his little thing. That was cool. And I did the AK facade space station gate. I've been kind of busy this year, not as busy as I would have liked to have been, but yeah, that was good.
How do you feel about about what you did this year? Feel like you
Considering everything that happened this year, I feel pretty good. I think I could have done more. There were times when I tried to convince myself to come downstairs and get at the bench and start working, but I didn't. But I feel pretty good about it.
good, good. Yeah, I liked your red TIE fighter. That one was cool.
Yeah, that one
And
was kind of
your
fun.
Nashorn. Your Nashorn was pretty damn good.
Thank you.
You always act like you're not an armor guy, but I don't know.
I like it all. I mean, what
I
can
think
I
you kind of
say?
are
Can I
like an
say I'm not an
undercover
guy?
armor
No,
guy.
but I love airplanes too. But I love Star Wars and stuff. So
You build
I
you
just
build
like
way
building.
more tanks than you do planes, my friend.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But sometimes what I really want to do is start a model, and that's the problem. Is I start a model. Do I finish it? Some of my
Oh,
shells would say no.
I think we've talked about that on a previous episode. Starting a model is like one of, oh God, it's so good. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's so, when pulling those bags open, the
Yeah.
noise and little crinkles. And yeah, I do love starting a model. That's why I have like 45 started models because it is really fun. Well, Scott, what about you?
As you guys have been talking and thinking, it's actually been a pretty productive year for me. I've got a couple. I finished a TACOM 16 scale Panzer One that I did a bunch of texturing and did a bunch of aftermarket. Sent that to JB. He's going to paint it. It was a kind of intended for a team project. So at some point that'll be good. And that was a lot of work, but ended up working with our recently past friend BJ on the wheels on that. So that build kind of means a little more to me than it did before. So that was good. And then Josh and I worked on some DOS work, 155 millimeter cannons, and that's through construction. It's not really done. But then I built the Leopard and the Panzer One for Tamiya. I built the 48 scale Martyr 3 for the group build, and built the Mini Art Lance Bulldog tractor, which was
The
a
gold
fun.
winning
Oh,
Lance
geez.
Bulldog.
So that was fun. So yeah, quite a. And I did the little Vespid 72nd scale Hetzer, which was a great kit. I definitely will do more Vespid armor, but a bit of a challenge just because it's so small and there was a lot of photo etch. So yeah, pretty good thing. I think the thing I'm most proud of though is my bases and the number of bases that I've done, and I'm certainly no master, but for me I've really significantly improved in presentation, and basing has become more important to me, and now I'm going to try and hopefully make at least a credible attempt at painting some figures as well. So I think that's the area of my modeling that I'm the most proud of, rather than the traditional kits that I finished. But yeah, that's what my year kind of looked like. So
How do you feel about what you did this year? Do you think you made progress as a modeler? Are you happy?
yeah, I think so. Some of the builds, I think I was talking to Justin Lentz this week, and he was talking about how it's so important to finish models and keep your skills going, and not every model has to be your best model you've ever done. I think if you look at the Bulldog versus like my Hetzer for the group build, those were done to sort of different levels, but they were different motivations. So yeah, I think I feel really good about it. I feel like my modeling continues to improve, and like I said, I've said in recent episodes, I just look at modeling different than I have, and I think largely that might be your fault collectively, and some of the other people that we work with and collaborate with, and certainly all of the time that we've spent at shows and online with people, that affects your modeling. But yeah, TJ, I think to answer your question, it's a good question. I think maybe the numbers wouldn't indicate it, but I feel really good about the direction I'm going. So
Yeah, I've kind of felt like the numbers matter less now. I used to be pretty proud of the amount of stuff that I could get done. That's still what I would consider, at least for me, the high quality. But I feel, yeah, to me, I'd rather have the quality over the quantity nowadays. Though getting a lot of stuff done is cool. I'm gonna act like it's not. Being at like a one model per month rate, it's cool just to hear people like, "Whoa, how do you get so much done?" It's called having no life, my friend. That's how you get so much done.
is this where we throw lots of shade at Mike and Dave, or is that later?
That's all the time. It's all the time. I think the entire run of Japanese aircraft production in World War II was less time than it's taken the two of them to finish their 72nd scale Japanese aircraft. The war began and ended by the time it's taken them to finish.
Merry Christmas to our friends in Kentucky.
Merry Dismas.
Grant, let's go over to you. I know I'm gonna go ahead and guess. I'm gonna put on my thinking cap here. You completed a lot of figures this year.
Yeah, that was I think I did a total, I think I finished, this is probably short, but I think around 15 to 16. But you're right, though, is what you said earlier. Figures are a little bit easier. They're a little bit easier, but they're a lot easier because a lot of them you don't have to build, so you don't have that whole step in there.
Oh God, that's the best.
Yeah, I know. I'm starting to miss that, actually.
How could you paint so many busts? Easy, they're one piece.
Yeah, they're one piece. And I have a 3D printer, so guess what? They're really easy to get. No, but I did finish some actual models. I finished the 148 scale for the group build we did for the 100th episode. I did the Flak 38, the 4-barrel German, the Desert Scheme. I finished a couple other ones. I'm still here and there and a couple other things there, but I did finish an actual couple models this year, so I didn't just finish figures. Overall, it was a pretty good year for me. It's hard to say, when you guys talk about finishing like your models compared to what I do, it's a little bit different. It's not little, it's a lot different. As TJ, we just talked about it's not as, you're not as involved in it as much as I don't think as you do when you build a model then paint it, I guess I'm trying to say. Don't get me wrong, I love painting figures. I really, really do. I love painting figures. And I plan to do more, but I also plan to do more building of kits this year. I want to get back into that again. I am missing that. There is things
Don't tease us, Grant.
No, whatever.
Don't tease us. Don't do that.
No, I want to build some ships. After seeing some of the stuff that JB sent, those pictures from Korea and it's such a beautiful storytelling that you could do with those. And I would like to get more into the storytelling of model building, I guess. It is hard to do that with a bust or a figure. So I'd like to get more back into that storytelling aspect of the hobby. I really, really I miss that. And I think to JB's point earlier, I think Americans, and this is my opinion only, I think we don't do as much storytelling in our building of models as we can do, as other countries do or other areas do. I think storytelling with this hobby can be a very, very big thing, especially if you look at some of the dioramas like at SMC and in Italy and in Korea and stuff you see coming out of everywhere else. I mean, the storytelling is beautiful. Get back on subject. I'm sorry. I think I got better this year, a little bit better. I will be published this year, so it's the first time I've been published. I'm going to be in the next issue of Fantasy Figures International. My Pumpkin Witch is going to have a couple pages in there, so that was big for me this year. I took home a couple silver medals for figures at MMSI, which was surprising for me. I didn't know I'd get that high. For me, that's very big. But that's about it. I did get better, I think. Just want to get better. That's all I keep on doing.
You're really good at color, especially like oranges and purples. And
Thank you.
I love the way you see color. And I just think you're getting better and better at that all the time. That Pumpkin Witch, I can't wait to see that in the magazine, but that piece was really good.
I appreciate it. That was that just started for no reason at all. And it just kind of just grew into what it was. So that was so fun. I appreciate that, sir.
That's very good. JB, what about you?
Yeah, I actually thought I didn't do much this year, and then I wrote it down, and I was like, oh, wow, it actually turned out to be a productive year. So I have done, let's see, the Tiger, G13, Sergeant York, M1340, a Wedge, Jagdpanzer L70, the Bradley, some Terminators, and then painted Scott's Leopard. Still have PTSD from that. And I'm also going to count a work model. I refinished our wind tunnel model at work, and that was a hell of a project. But no, overall, it was a productive year, and it kind of hit me when I put everything out to take up to the High Plains show back in November, where, with exception to a few of these, I think the G13 might be the only one. everything else, I satisfied my desires to put them on a base. So everyone has a unique base. Some of them have a figure. So I'm pretty stoked about that. There's plenty of stuff I didn't finish. Like you said, starting models is it's exhilarating. I love it. I mean, hell, I got to me a Panzer One right here with the box open. I'm like, oh man, I could build this in like a day or two. And I might take it up to Mark's today to build. So really, yeah, overall good year considering how much work demanded out of me and traveling and weekend trips to see you all. I'm pretty satisfied with the output. But yeah, it was good.
That wind tunnel model, that was, I mean, you probably would have done 3 or 4 more projects in the time you spent just getting the cracks and
Yeah.
everything addressed on that thing was a monster.
Yeah, I'm a expert in Bondo and polishing now, and a rotary tool, a rotary sander hooked up to an air compressor is I can defeat Thanos with that thing now. I'm so good using it. So and it changed my life. I remember two or three nights using sanding sponges and blocks. I'm like, I'm gonna go insane. And then I picked one up off of Amazon, and I was like, my life has changed now. So yeah, yeah, that was a cool project, and learned how to gloss coat there. Hate gloss coating, so or I should say gloss paint. But yeah, it was cool. It was a fun project. But out of everything, the Sergeant York's kind of a cheater, where I finished that at the very first half of January last year. So that's a cheated one. But out of all of them, I think that one I enjoyed probably the most. The build sucked, but the finish and what it turned out to be, I really enjoyed that output.
I still need to talk you into some German buildings and everything for that piece.
I know I only have so much room in my luggage coming back from SMC, so if VG Diorama doesn't come out with anything next year, I'll certainly buy the other the thing from RT. But no, it's super cool. Yeah, I really want to do that someday.
Yeah, I love your Sergeant York.
Yeah.
That was really cool because I mean you just don't see them. Like I think we were talking about before. I think I've seen 4
Mm-hmm.
builds of that TACOM kit, and yours is the best one. And no, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that just because you're my friend.
Well, I appreciate that. I haven't seen, I mean, I've seen, yeah, a couple online and then in person. I feel like I've seen more Tamiya ones than the new
Mhm.
TACOM. So,
Yeah,
Yeah, we haven't talked about at all your 148 scale Jagdpanzer conversion that you did. That was a good build and love the paint on that one.
thanks. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm glad I could do that for the group build and doing all the dots was an experiment and it was a long experiment, but it was a fun one. I'd do it again because it was cool. But yeah, around I think I did 700 or 800 dots on the thing. But yeah, it was, and the groundwork on that turned out really well too. I was
Right.
really satisfied with that. Followed, our dear Uncle Night Shift's techniques to the T, and lo and behold, works. And it's the first time I ever started using his technique around putting static grass in, not just from like you put dots and you put the static grass on, but like grabbing clumps with a tweezer and then you're
Yeah.
putting tufts essentially on the base. And I really enjoyed how that came out. It certainly added a lot of just different textures to the grass that I enjoyed. And then painting, I just followed his exact steps, and lo and behold, it worked. Uncle Night Shift, check him out. But yeah, it was good.
He's kind of good at the model building thing.
Yeah,
It's
he doesn't
interesting.
suck.
No, it's interesting with all of you guys seeing projects that at some point you hated, right?
Oh yeah.
When you started that Jagdpanzer 4, you did not like that build at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you were not happy with that build, and Jensen, the suspension on the M3, you were cussing that thing left and right, and then when you guys sort of defeat the demon or whatever you want to call it, a lot of these projects, I think you end up taking a lot of pride in, and rightly so. But all of you, yeah, TJ, I know with your builds, you had some times you wanted to, smash them against the wall, but you see them through, and then you're proud of how they turn out. It's pretty fun to watch that process unfold.
I know
Yeah.
for me, when I was building the M4A1, it wasn't that really that the build was all that hard, but trying to figure out how exactly I was going to paint it the way it is and the way I have the pictures of it and the way I saw it in my mind, I agonized over that because the color is very distinctive, the pattern of wear was really distinctive, and of course I came back to bite me in the butt a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. Lessons learned. Yeah, I was pretty happy with that though. That's one of the few times where I feel like it really did turn out exactly as close to how I imagined it would be.
Well, I've got a question for you guys. I mean, we've already heard from some of us, but the guys that haven't, what was your favorite build this year? Jensen, I know I can tell you what I thought was your favorite build, but I want to hear what was your favorite one you finished this year?
Yeah, no, yeah, it have to be the Stewart.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because the amount of work and the amount of time I left myself, and still turned out pretty well. I did a lot of new things on it, and it works. So yeah, it was I didn't have time to be scared of trying new techniques.
You know,
Yeah.
the thing that sucks about that build is it's hard to see all the work that you put on the inside of that model.
It's so dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Just good. I mean, just really good. I mean, it's dark, yeah, but still all the work around it and everything like that is just what makes that thing just more beautiful.
Mhm.
And just a beautiful kit, beautiful build and everything. Scott, what about you? I don't mean to take over. I'm just asking a question.
Move over,
Move
TJ.
over, TJ.
No, it's fine. This is a good question.
I think I don't know. Probably I guess the Bulldog. I really liked that. And it was one of those things where I started this elaborate base with a wall and a wooden cart and it just wasn't working. And so I just kind of went to a minimalist base. I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. That worked out good. So yeah, I would say probably that was my favorite. And I kind of fell in love with when I was researching it, fell in love with the tractor itself. I was like, almost like maybe I need to order a real one of those. They're just great little farm tractors. So yeah. That was my favorite. TJ, what was your favorite of the ones you finished?
Oh man, I don't know. That's the easy one to say is it's the M4A1 just because I really poured everything I had into that and I really do like it. But I don't know, the Pack Croat. Oh God, I love that thing so much. That's like that probably is that's my top favorite machining creator design, especially with the short barrel like I put on it. God, I love that thing. And I was really happy with how it turned out, even though I just copied, Brian Krieger, but might as well. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. It's probably between the Pack Croat and the M4A1. Though I think if I could go back, I might do the Pack Croat a little bit differently. Maybe weather it a little bit more. Kind of was like really restrained. Yeah, I don't know. That's hard. But I also really like whatever that other machining creator thing I did. I can't remember if that's a Ketzer. I don't remember which one it was. I really like that one too. That's one of the best ones I think I've done just as a whole, even if it's not my absolute favorite like design. But yeah, I don't know. I'll say the M4A1. I love that thing. I'm super proud of it. I think I did really good, and
Yeah.
it's pretty good, I think.
Yeah. Doug, what about you?
I would definitely go with my Nashorn just because of the fact that I tried something very new for me with it. I mean, not new for most of you, but winter whitewash is something I'd never tried. And even though it could have been better, oh my gosh, for a first try, totally happy with it. The other one that stands out to me is the Shield and Tortoise. The little dude with the little mandolin and waving his hat. He's got the flower, the lei, and a rope belt and a cloak and just playing with color on that. I've never done anything even close to that, so that was a lot of fun too.
JB.
Yeah, I'd have to go with the Sergeant York. I think it's just the most unique thing I did, and yeah, it was fun. It was cool. I mean, the stowage, the unique, just everything about it. I really enjoyed it. Close second, I'll say, is the Terminators. I painted two of them earlier in the year, and I really want to get back to painting some Warhammer stuff. Illuministra on Instagram was a major influence and help. His tutorials are awesome, and I just want to get back to doing that again because I love the vibrancy of the colors.
Yeah, those were good. I really like those.
Thanks.
You did a really good job. All you guys did fantastic work this year. It's just interesting to see what you guys think.
What about you?
It's a piece that I did. It's called the Enchanter. It's a female kind of worship kind of thing. It's just one of those ones that I just think that I really did a lot better work on that one than everything else I did this year. It didn't receive anything anywhere, but it was still, I think it was a step up for me for flesh tones and eyes and stuff like that. So that's probably my favorite. But I also really, really had a great time doing the 48 build. The 100 build we did for Tamaya with Tamaya in our 100th episode. It was just a little flat piece, and it was just fun. And that was that was the whole thing about that was, like I said, it was just fun. And that couple weeks there and getting that done, it was just a blast. That's for me. Again, sorry, TG, I didn't mean to start all over you.
No, it's all good, man. I guess, before we wrap this up, we can kind of talk about, what we're looking forward to, what we kind of have planned for 2025. I had what I had planned pulled up, but I don't know what I did with it. What I have got a couple builds planned for 2025. I'm going to finish the MiG-21. That's the number one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to finish the M4A376 that I built. That because I want to take that to SMC with me. And then I have a kinetic F-104C Starfighter that I really, really want to do because, as I mentioned before, I like my Cold War jets long and skinny. That's the way I like it. And that's why the MiG-21 and the F-104, I just love the way they look, especially the F-104. I mean, it's just a supersonic lawn dart. That's all that it is. And yeah, and I love them in Southeast Asian camo. Not so much in the natural metal. I mean, it's okay. I'm not a big fan of natural metal finishes on aircraft. It's just, they don't really do it for me. I like camo patterns and colors. Tip of the hat that I know natural metal is the harder thing to pull off, and I would like to try it at some point. But yeah, I like camo schemes and color, so that's why I typically lean towards that. And yeah, those are the main ones. Oh, and then the Das Work / TACOM Panther. I really want to finish that this year too. I was hoping to finish it in 2024. I just didn't have the time. So yeah, that's what I have planned, and I'm going to try to stick to that plan. I normally don't do that, and I'm actively working on planning out what I'm going to do and just getting it done. So I don't have so many unfinished, half-started models laying around because, as I think I mentioned before, it's hard to sell them when they are a quarter built. And a lot of the stuff that I would like to sell, I can't because I've already started it. And I mean, maybe someone would buy it, but I'm not going to get as much money as I would like from it. So yeah, so I would like to sell off some of that just because I know I'm never going to build a lot of it. But yeah, that's what I got going on. That's my plan out for 2025. We'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, go on. So for me, I know I said all things with wings. Really excited for the Royal Class P40 that's coming out with Edward. I've pre-ordered 2 of them because I'd really like to get a couple of P40s made, at least 2, because the schemes that come in the box are just really, really nice. So I'd like to get a couple of P40s done. I've also got I signed up for the Bunny Fighter Club because like the discount you get at shows and stuff and all that, it just seems worth it. And they had a really nice activation kit. It was a Tempest, but it looks like it's got the tritone US Navy scheme, the 2 blues and the white. It looks really cool. So I'd like to get the Tempest done as well. I'd also like to get an F4F done because that's just a cute little US Navy aircraft. I'd like to get a Zero done, and I'm already at like five-ish aircraft now, and that's pushing it. But yeah, like I generally want to try and knuckle down and get like Edward builds done because I've got so many of their kits. A Focke-Wulf 190. I've done the A5, and I'm still of the belief today that is the nicest kit I've ever assembled. Engineering-wise, it is just a perfectly faultless, amazing plastic model to put together. So if I can get another couple Focke-Wulf 190s done from Edward, that'd be nice, because they are really good. But yeah, for me, it's all aircraft next year. I might have to swap podcasts.
It depends on who we can get in return. We definitely need to trade up. So I guess it all depends on who's on the trading block.
I hear Whitey is on the block, so maybe
I take Whitey.
Maybe we can talk about some draft considerations and a player to be named later or something.
I mean that would work too because Whitey's got his Boston accent, so he's got a what is that?
Non-rhotic.
Non-rhotic accent, so we can swap one non-rhotic accent for another one. That'd be good. It's almost the same. Well, Scott, what about you? What do you have planned for 2025?
I'm going to paint some figures.
Besides winning another gold at SMC.
Geez, yeah, that's not going to happen. Going to paint some figures, continue to work on bases. I want to do another 1/16 scale build that's really involved, do a bunch of aftermarket on it and really go to town. I don't know which one. I'm working on that. And this frustrated science fiction modeler, I want to do some science fiction projects and get them done. I always end up kind of finishing armor projects. And so that's something I want to do. And then, try and talk Grant into building Tamiya BF-109 G6, actually get him to get that done. And then build on the foundation of our show out here in Utah, the Rocky Mountain Expo. we had a great initial show, and we're really excited about what happened. But the next one's going to be twice as good. So that's going to be a project. I know it's not a model, but that's something I'm really excited about.
Doug, what about you?
As soon as I get my PC out of the model room, I will have space to finally do the perfect grade Falcon.
Nice.
I started it 3 years ago, but I'm going to finish it in 2025. I'm real excited about that one.
Sweet.
About friggin' time, man.
AFT, Doug.
No, yeah, that's a worthy goal right there. I'd love to see that, just so
Yeah.
I can be jealous that I don't have one, and that you
Everybody needs one.
You get to experience probably one of the best Star Wars kits ever made.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, just, yeah, it's flawless.
JB, what do you have on your docket?
Oh boy, like always, I have a bunch of stuff, but I really want to get better at vignettes and figure painting. So I have a ton of figures, and then I have some ideas for vignettes. I'm on a Hetzer kick right now, and I bought those Arto figures at SMC, so I definitely want to get that done. But yeah, I think it's more just embracing the storytelling aspect of the hobby and trying to crank out these little scenes. And I want to get back to painting some Warhammer too. So really, it's just I'd love to go back and look at what we said last year and see how well we delivered. I find that I'm not disciplined in that regard where I'll say a few things like, "Oh, I want to do this," and then at the end of the year it's like, "Wow, you only did one of seven." But regardless, I think, and we can all agree, we were still satisfied with what we accomplished this year. And I think a lot of modelers probably feel the same way, where, you set out to do one thing, you took the journey, you ended near your destination, just a different route. And yeah, bottom line, 2025, trying to embrace the storytelling aspect, creating some scenes, but yeah, and then maybe even a few technical builds in there too. But bottom line is, yeah, I want to have some fun. That's the key to all this. And I do want to do a stash purge. I keep saying that. It's just really hard when you go to a show and they're like, "Oh, here's a dragon armor for like $20." And you're like, "Oh, it's the smart kid. It's got everything." And it's like 20 frickin' dollars. Gosh, I spend more at a coffee shop with, friends than that. So it's or an Uber. But yeah, bottom line, just trying to have fun in the hobby.
Yeah, I thought about that too this morning. Like, I should have gone back and listened to what we said last year, because I know we had a very similar conversation last year, and probably also the year before. And I tried to go look through our notes for our outlines to see if I had written it down, and I didn't. I found the outline from this episode last year. It's just, yeah, maybe I'll do that this weekend, go back and listen to what I actually said. But yeah, that was good. Does anyone have anything else they want to add? Did I miss anyone?
I want to say,
miss you?
Yes, you did, but don't worry
I'm
about
sorry.
it.
My apologies.
I stepped all over you before. Don't worry about it. It's my fault. I will say, though, that last 2 years I said I would build an airplane, and I'm not going to say that this year. So, because I know if I say it, I won't. So I'm hoping if I do the opposite of saying it, I will do it. So that's for you, Scott.
It's not that scary, man.
Yes,
Come
it
on.
is. Yes, it is.
Hey, come on, if I can do it, literally anyone can do it.
Well, Jensen can. Geez.
That's even more true.
This year I am going to build the Magic Factory 1/700 scale Gerald Ford aircraft carrier. I've got that. I've got the deck. I've got the crew now for it. Got all that done. So I will build that this year. I promise myself. Since they came out with the PKA for Machining Krieger, that's my favorite kit. There's so much you can do with that little guy. Plus, they're coming out with the PKA OS E, the Moon version, in a couple months. So that's definitely on the list.
Yeah, I got 4 of those on pre.
Yeah, I got like 3. So that's gonna be fun. I can't wait to get that little guy also, and I want to do that for sure. But other than that, I just want to get, like you guys all said, or have more fun, focus more on getting quality over quantity, I think is a big thing, being better. And I want to be a gold medalist or a medalist like Mr. Scott, and all these world competitions and all these stuff, Scott, the man, the myth, the legend.
No,
Yes.
no.
No,
Be like GB or TJ, not Scott.
I like the good people say, you want to be like yourself. So just be a better model. That's all I want to do.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
All right, that was a good discussion, guys. So I think up next, we're going to talk with our special guest and reviewing the Posse group build entries. So let's head on over to that.
Welcome, listeners, for a roundtable discussion that has been a few months in the making. Really appreciate all the participation that we had in our Posse group build for episode 100, and want to talk about that in a second a little bit more. But we've all just been humbled and really appreciate everybody jumping in and kind of catching the spirit of what we wanted to do, and it was awesome. So, as we've been talking about early on in the group build, we reached out to a bunch of really good friends who are very talented, and they all enthusiastically agreed to come at the end of this thing and talk about which entries kind of spoke to them and pick a favorite. And so that's what we're here to do today. So I'm going to kind of go around and introduce everybody, and we'll do a quick catch up. But let's start with my podcast mate, Mr. John Benani is here with me. John, how are you doing today?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Really appreciate everyone being here. There's, 6 esteemed guests online spanning, I think, 4 different time zones. Some are going to sleep, some are just waking up, and some of us are waiting to go watch some football. So again, I am really thankful that we could have all these great folks, dare I say titans in the scale modeling world, and very thankful for them to be our friends as well. So I think this will be a good session. Hopefully our listeners enjoy it. We certainly enjoyed looking at everybody's work, and I can't wait to talk about it today.
Yeah, thanks, John. That's well said. All right, I'm just going to kind of go around the room. We'll start with our good friend, Mr. Rick Lawler, on the West Coast. Rick, how are you, and what have you been up to?
Hey guys, I'm good. What have I been up to? Jeez. Well, I just finished up that Ontos build this last week, which was kind of fun. Kind of finally got that out of my hair. And otherwise, just getting into the holiday spirit and doing the deal.
Awesome. Well, let's go further west. Somebody having a really, really good time and sacrifice to come on early with us, the Sam Dwyer. Sam, how you doing?
Yeah, good morning. Good, yeah, good. Thanks. Yeah, it's 5:15 a.m. here in Bali, so I'm on holidays. So yeah, having a great time. Getting no modeling done, unfortunately. So but it's good having a break from that as well. So but then looking forward to getting home and finishing up the last couple of models for the year. So it's been quite productive. So keen to wrap those up as well.
Yeah, I can tell all the people on the call here, they're shedding tears for Sam. Poor Sam. I don't know how he's going to make it through this. From north of the border, we have our good friend, Chris Luftraum. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm good, Scott. Thanks for having me on. It's I kind of feel like the small person in the room here next to some of these names, but yeah, I've been good. Getting ready for the holidays, just trying to wind everything down a little bit. I'm sort of stuck in the middle of a bit of a phantom run. I think I've got 3 or 4 that I've been working on, and probably will be up until somewhere past the halfway point of 2025. And that's all for a book that I'm working on. And when I'm not doing that, I've been slinging books across the world, and when there's not been a mail strike. And yeah, so I'm neck deep in the hobby and loving it.
Oh, that's awesome. Hopefully that strike will be over soon.
Maybe this week.
On the other end of the time spectrum, we have Mr. Kovac from Slovakia. How are you doing, Martin?
Good evening. Besides not sleeping for a week and chugging a can of Monster for dinner, I'm doing excellent. And I'm sort of getting ready for Christmas already. I just barely in time finished my last project of this year, the Destroyed Panther. And yeah, just pretty chill overall. Just chilling and vibing.
Well, hopefully you get caught up on sleep soon. We'll have to keep this call concise so you can get some rest. And then from the East Coast, Adam Wilder. Adam, we haven't talked to you in a while. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. How about you guys?
Doing well. Doing really well.
So what have I been doing? Well, getting into the holiday season like Rick. It's cool this time of year. We get Thanksgiving break, get Christmas break. So I'm hoping to get some caught up on some building as well. I've been fussing with some PE on a Panzer IV. And I just forgot how much. I just remembered why I don't do Panzer IVs much. Well, a lot of detail, but they're fun once you start getting them together. So yes, I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Awesome. And then from the UK, Spud, how are you doing, my friend? You look pretty comfortable over there.
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thank you very much. I was riding the high from getting a gold at SMC with the Achilles, which I did say was going to be my last 16th scale build for a while because kind of they are really time consuming. And then obviously speaking to Andy from Andy's Hobby Headquarters, I then get a M113 turn up in the post, and I've been really enjoying putting that together. So been a bit of a man possessed with this one. So yeah, the 16th scale bug is well and truly hit, and no signs of disappearing at the moment.
Yeah, it's really coming together fast on that one. You really kind of hit the ground running. So anyway, well, I wanted to before I turn the time over to John and to the picks and everything, we were having a little bit of an interesting conversation before we started recording. I'll ask Chris maybe to kind of recap what he said, but I made the comment that we were kind of surprised by the response to the group build from everybody, and Chris kind of had some interesting comments about that he wasn't maybe quite as surprised. Chris, maybe if you could kind of recap what you said there.
Sure thing, Scott. Yeah, so as Scott said, he was kind of surprised by the response, and I responded by saying that I really wasn't surprised at all, because I think that's really indicative of the community that these guys in the posse have built, and not only that there were hundreds of people who wanted to be part of it to help celebrate this milestone episode. Well, we also had a lot of people, I think, who were dealing with some pretty heavy stuff in life. There was a time that we had some hurricanes moving through the south and central United States. And so there were people who were, had a picture of their bench, or it might have been a coffee table, or it might have been even a fold-up table. And it was basically like, the note that went with it was, we're about to lose power anytime. The winds are building, da 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 da. And so here's somebody sort of facing a hurricane, and what are they doing to sort of maintain sanity? They're working on their group build. There was another guy who I know said, "Oh, I'm not going to get finished. I have to jet off to Europe for work or something on a sort of impromptu basis." And same kind of thing, sort of working on it right up to the last minute. There was somebody else I know who I think had to restart like 3 times and was basically not quite coloring his with crayons and poster paint, but it was pretty close. And then finally, and there's another person, I'm sorry, I didn't look for the name before this started, but somebody looked like they were in a hotel room, again, had everything for the group build laid in front of them, but they were finally, after a number of years, had just gotten word that they were about to adopt a child. And again, the common thread with all of these was chaos is surrounding these people, and they're finding sanity, they're finding positive mental health by the group build, by scale modeling. And I think that really, obviously shows how important it was for to support the posse, but I think it just reiterates the constant theme that a lot of people have talked about, and the posse included, that mental health and modeling are very tightly interconnected. And I know sometimes it's the opposite way. The last thing we can do is sit down at the bench, and that was also mentioned prior. But when your world is going to hell around you, picking up a Gundam kit, picking up something simple, picking up something that is predictable on your bench, even if it doesn't necessarily mean you're making a ton of progress, is probably still going to make a ton of progress for your sanity and your mental health. So when the going gets tough, the tough get modeling, it seems. And it was just really cool to see that aspect of it in that short stretch of 6 weeks.
Really appreciate those comments, Chris, and just echo them. And the community has been tremendous. We've been very, very grateful. So without further ado from myself, Mr. Bonani, take it away.
Thanks, Scott. I think we're just gonna kind of wing it. As I mentioned, there's 6 of us. 6 guests here, I should say. But at the high level, I'd like to just start off and just echoing a few things. Thanking the listeners for participating. In the end, we had over 180 entries from 11 different countries, which is pretty amazing. And we had the opportunity to see some in person at SMC and other shows throughout the United States. So really appreciate that. But without further ado, I think in this type of format, again, we're going to wing it. I'm maybe call on one person just to get the ball rolling. And maybe I'll call on Rick, because he's the first person I look at in the upper right-hand corner of my screen. If he's not ready, I can pick on somebody else. But he seems raring to go.
We're good.
So maybe I'll kick it off to you, Rick. And if you just want to highlight a couple that you enjoyed, and maybe we'll just strike up the conversation and go from there. And then we'll move our way over to the airplane.
Yeah. Well, quite a daunting task to go through that list and all the images. For those or listening to the podcast, midweek we were all given a Google Doc that had all these different entries, about 4 or 5 different photographs of each model entrant per person, and so it was quite impressive to go through all of that. Not an easy task. The skill level is quite high amongst the average. Uh, I'm going to start off with one. I'm going to give it my special creative award here. We talked a little bit about this before coming on air here, but Kelly, you guys know his first name. I don't, unfortunately,
Kevin,
but he's
yeah.
taken. I'm sorry.
Kevin Kelly here, right?
Kevin Kelly. Okay. He's basically got a DC comic book themed cover here. So it's like this action hero theme where he's made it come 3D to life, where he's got the red background, this, GI combat and graphic behind it. And then the vehicle itself, it's a Tiger tank painted just gray, but it's got some subtle shading on it like you would be for like illustration art. He's got brick wall that's vibrant yellows and blacks. It's just a real eye catcher, and I think it's just absolutely creative and really brings, again, a magazine front cover to life in a 3D format. So that's my creative one of the batch. That really, I smiled when I saw that one. I thought that's cool. That's
I
cool.
think he really captured the spirit of that presentation. It was really, really good, and it's one that I think a lot of people really responded to.
Mm-hmm. And geez, some other ones here. I'm going to give you one that I think is caught my eyes. Not so much for the finish was great, but I really like John Anderson's in progress builds of his vehicle as well. He put a lot of work on it. It's a really nice and tidy build here. It's got the Zimmerit and photo etch and such on it, and it's really, really nice, and that caught my eye. So that's, I think, seeing some of these in progress photographs of some of these builds really kind of helped elevate the entire experience of looking through these photographs and taking a look and trying to put them into some sort of perspective.
Yep, and all of you guys feel free to jump in and discuss, and don't worry about stepping on the top of each other. We want to have a conversation, so
yeah, please take some burden off of me talking here.
The other one, not being an armor guy, but the other one that I thought was kind of neat, if I understood what he was going for, there was a bulldozer that I think was meant to be like a kid's sandbox toy.
Yeah.
Did I interpret that right? I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
Like even the tracks were just kind of painted that straight black rubber, and yeah, I just thought that was a different take.
Almost like a Tonka
yeah,
toy.
Yeah, exactly.
Something. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what he wrote, is that they played in the sand, and then with the change of seasons, they were forgotten. And I mean, any kid who's ever had a sandbox and Tonka trucks knows that there is probably still a Tonka toy buried somewhere in their sandbox.
Yeah, I actually have some in my backyard from when I was a kid still. They're part of the aesthetics now in our garden. So that was good. Couple other ones. Aaron Cook. This one reminded me of one of Adam's weathering jobs here. I think it's definitely a nod to that. It struck me and it's really well done. So Adam, you got some competition there on the weathering department for sure. So you better step it up with that Panzer IV you're working on.
That's a good call. I think Aaron has made no secret that Adam's been a big influence on his work.
Yeah. I don't know how many more of these you want me to go through. There's 100. What'd you say, John? 160 or something?
Over 180, but
180.
No, you've done a good job already. I'll also call out, since we're talking about unique ones, the Hetzer made by your friendly neighbor up north, Joshua Scott, the Gerland Panzer Hetzer. I think we see a lot of it in 35th, but I appreciate him doing it in 48th. And that definitely matches Josh's, I guess, taste in scale modeling.
Yeah, bringing an anime spin to an armor kit is really good.
And watching him do the build online somewhat with the postings he was doing, he was really trying to finesse back to Adam here, this modulation thing too with the panels. That was kind of one of the first times he really tried to work with that. And, he was asking a lot of questions and he just giving it a go. It was really nice to see.
So since we have Master Yoda and Obi-Wan from the Weathering, Jedi Order, and I'm referencing Adam and Mr. Nightshift, maybe I'll kick it over to Martin. What stuck out to your mind? Which ones did caught your eye?
Okay, so from the weathering department, I I was just looking again at what Rick sent us into the group chat, and what really caught my eye is the Yak Panther. For one reason, is the type of model where you would swear that it's a 1/35th scale model, but it's smaller.
What scale
And
is it?
you can't even tell from the photo. It's 1/48.
Martin, is that the 3-tone one with the 244 on the side?
Yep, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's a very nice one from the weathering standpoint. And from my newly discovered, well, newly 2 or 3 years ago, diorama standpoint, it's the Normandy, I think, diorama with the two Cromwells and the broken wing from a German aircraft, some kind of, I don't know, any aircraft. That's just beautiful. That's like a snapshot from a Saving Private Ryan movie if Private Ryan was British, or Band of Brothers. It's just so nice, and everything is so well balanced. Like the weathering on the Cromwells, that's spot on. And even more respect for building two models of the same type with the same type of finish and weathering, and doing them to the same overall quality. And groundwork is nice, like the dusty gravel road. You can just tell from looking at it that just it's a very dusty gravel road. Even the texture is spot on. The hedgerow behind that, it's so cool. The grass is very nice. I can see it has been painted, which I really appreciate. It's just so nice. Like, am I allowed to nitpick?
Sure.
The only nitpick I would have is the wing. It kind of seems like it's sort of floating on the grass, like it's missing some weight, but that's the only little thing that caught my eye in a slightly more negative way, apart from all the praise that I just said.
No, that's a good call out. I agree too with everything. It gives me like episode 3/4 vibes in Band of Brothers when the Brits are rolling into that town and don't take the advice and just keep going into a tiger tank. But yeah, it's pretty sweet. Like you said, two, not only one at high quality, but two in a diorama setting with figures under the tight timeline. Major credit. All right. I'm going to call on Mr. Spud Murphy. What stuck out to you in this party?
Well, quite a few actually. I think when we were having our initial discussion and people, Scott said, "Oh, if you could put a couple up that you really liked," and I think I whittled it down to about 16. But it was things like there's obviously John Anderson's Jag Tiger. I thought was really nice, and Frank Blanton had done the Ersatz Stug 3, which is a really unusual one to do, and it worked really, really well. Did like that. I'm not sure. There's a chap. Oh, is it Ian? Is it Ian Bonner with his early Stug 3 in grey?
Yeah,
that was really nice. Really nice weather in. All the stowage was painted really, really well. And
no, don't encourage him.
Yeah, he forgot the jerry can holders. Don't let him get off the hook.
But and obviously because I've gone Mr. 1/16 scale, I have got a couple of 48 scale kits that I keep going back to refer to just how small these models are, from where I've my eyes now in sort of the larger scale. So, my hat goes off to these guys for putting the amount of work in the detail. And like Rick and that said, the Jag Panther, you wouldn't believe that was a 48 scale kit. It just looks like a really, really well done 35th scale kit. There's John Bryan has done the Mosquito, absolutely beautiful finish on that. Then I'm trying to think. There's a really nice Nashorn with the disc camo. ME262, which I really liked. Then there's a P38, which is chap called, looks like it's Lonetti.
I think it's an I. I think it starts with an I. Yanetti.
Oh yeah. That was really nicely done. And I think really to sort of finish off, there was also a T-34-85 with all the rubber matting armor, which kind of reminded me of all the stuff from like the Bosnian period, which was very different and really cool. So a lot of really inspirational work there.
Frank Peron's T-34 with the rubber mats was pretty awesome.
Yep.
As you noted, Eric Johnston's, I'm 99% sure that's his name.
Yeah.
Scott can edit this out. Great. He doesn't need to edit it out. Eric Snashorn, I loved it when he submitted it. It looks really good. And like you said, it I mean, heavy influence by Rinaldi, and I think he executed it really well.
Definitely.
So, Mr. Sieber, you've been a little quiet. What stuck out to you?
Oh, you guys are talking about targets. I don't really contribute to that. So, although I will say Eric Johnston's Nashorn really jumped out at me too. I mean, I've got all of Rinaldi's books. I've followed his work a fair bit, and that influence was immediately apparent. And I think he's executed it fantastically. Like the whole thing has a very unified look to it, despite working with the three colors. I really enjoyed looking at that one. I mean, Sam and I sort of went through all the aircraft. We sort of I think pretty quickly came up with three that we both identified as being a little bit higher than everything else. So maybe do we want to save those for the back and maybe just go through a couple other ones, or?
Yeah, fire our way through a couple other ones, and then we'll discuss the ones that stuck out the most to you for 1, 2, 3.
All right, so let me call up airplanes then. All right, so I mean, for myself, it was already called out. I mean, Patrick Neff had a 262 and a Kettenkrad, which I think was really cleanly executed. It's sort of, I think, in a sort of not unfinished, but it's kind of a mishmash of some camel collar and some factory finish, it looks like. And I thought that was really neat. There's a couple really nice zeros that were done. One by Gurney, another by Coronado. The latter did theirs in sort of American markings, and both of those I thought were really cleanly built. And just really attractive finishes on those. And one other quick one I'll call out was Wisdom did a Hellcat, not a Hellcat, Wildcat, and again, like just really, really clean work. You kind of look at it as best you can with a few photos and try and find flaws, and there just really aren't that many there. It's and just really neat finishes too, like giant serial or giant identification numbers on them, and just not what you sort of normally see. So as Rick said, a lot of the builds for 6 weeks worth of work or 7 weeks worth of work were really executed well. It was a lot of fun to go through these. Russell Wells was another one with his splinter camo scheme and that fleur-de-lis on the tail. I like a little bit of color in an aircraft, so that one sort of jumped out to me as well. So with that, I'll throw it over to Sam for maybe a few of his alternates, and then we'll jump into the three that we highlighted.
Cheers. Like you, I think Eric Wisdom's it was FM1 Wildcat, I think it was. That was really nice. The one with the one wing folded, I think. That was really well done, and I find it a really attractive aircraft for a little stumpy little chunky dude. I think they're a great looking aircraft. Justin Ryan, White One, his 109 was really well done as well. Really, really pleasing camo on that, and really well executed, I thought. And another one was JC Osborne's Faisler Storch. I think that's how you say it. Tamir Faisler, which I know someone else working on one at the moment. It's a bit of a challenge. It's not an easy kit to put together necessarily for a Tamir kit, which is strange because usually they're pretty great. And I thought that was really well done as well. So but yeah, look, there was a bunch of really fantastic aircraft. Some beautiful 262s and beautiful zeros as well. So lots to take in.
Yeah, and I think the other one we sort of wanted to call out was the one entrant that sort of combined both real genres that Tamiya deals with in 48. And that was I presume BJ DeBecker.
Yeah.
The 109, and I couldn't begin to tell you what the truck was. An Opel, maybe.
Opel Blitz, yeah.
Opel Blitz, yeah. So, not only did it harmoniously bring together two adversarial genres, but it was superbly executed as well in a nice little vignette.
Yeah, it was a beautiful piece. John and I got to see that in Colorado at his home, and see that in person is really a beautiful build, and obviously a build that means a lot. So really, really nice.
So with that said, Sam, do you want to lead us off with one of our sort of highlighted three?
Yeah. Chris and I, we absolutely agreed on what we thought were kind of the pick of the aircraft, and I'm happy just to not necessarily call out 321 or anything like that, but I guess the one of the three picks for us was Robbie Nauf's Focke-Wulf 190 D9 with the Papago Starfall with the red and white undersides. I thought that was really, really well done. And a super attractive aircraft as well. Yeah, I thought it was really great.
His camo is so beautifully feathered and delicate, and a little bit of weathering on it. Yeah, super. Second
and
one,
those sorry, I was going to say those
Go
to me
ahead.
are kits too of that era. They're just two sprue wonders. They're fantastic kits. Yeah, good fun.
So second one was John Bryan's Mosquito, which I know Spud called on earlier. And it's funny, like, this is, if you can name a style of finish that is totally different from what I do and whatever, that would be this, but it looks so good. It's crisp and it's colorful and it's got great saturation without being like, obviously it's got giant yellow letters on it. But it just has life. It has pop, and it's so cleanly executed. It reminds me in a way when I was younger, and this is how it seemed like so many kits were painted. It has a very positive, nostalgic feel to me. Not to diminish the style in any way, but that's what it sort of brings up for me. And it just leaps off the screen or the page if it were printed, I guess.
And it's an incredibly difficult finish too, because it's weathered, but still not weathered.
Yes.
And he's done it perfectly. It's great. So, because you can look at an unweathered model and go, "Oh, it's horrid," but it's not. It's weathered enough. It's perfect. Yeah. So done really well.
Yeah. There's a lot of nuance to the finish. Like seen from a distance, it almost has a different appearance than seen from close up.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful model.
And
then
you want to introduce our other one? Go ahead.
And look, the final of our picks for the best of aircraft was Justin Lentz, Emil, his 109E White 7. Again, another, to me, a two sprue wonder from the sort of mid 2000s, early 2000s, but just done flawlessly. Every bit of that model is just perfectly executed in every way. So that was definitely our joint pick for best aircraft.
Yeah. And I think to me, this one also, just as I said about Eric Johnston's Nashorn, the finish on this is just really unified. It doesn't, the colors seem to have that harmonious, I don't know whether there's an overspray or whether there's a lightning using sort of buff through all the colors or what his technique was, but it just really looks like it just looks together in a way that I think really good models do. And of course it's super clean, and again, as soon as I scrolled over, it's just that one stands out.
Justin really loves that aircraft and really loves that kit, and you can tell it's a bit of a love letter, that build, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And like Sam, like the kits go together so easily, and and again, this comes back to an ideal kit to do if chaos is going around. You could pick up one of these, and it's the old throw the glue in the box, shake it up, and out the thing comes, and then just have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I also wanted to I don't know if you guys saw, but his last name was Williams. I didn't get his first name, but the Spitfire Mark 5B Trop, I thought that was pretty
on the
pretty
plank.
That was really nice.
Pretty eye-catching, unusual photography composition there. And then a couple of the armor kits that I noticed, Peter Fedlotsky's T-55. I don't know if you guys saw that one, but I really like Peter's style, and that one caught my eye. And Barry Biediger's Martyr 3, I've seen that one in person, so a couple of times. So I thought that one was really good. And then there was a little composition, and it was a Kettenkrad with a aircraft starter cart, and it was just kind of a quiet little vignette, but I really, really liked the composition of that one too. Yeah, Martin did that one. So
I was going to say Martin Holst.
Yeah, Holst.
Yeah, and I like the way that one has a little character dangling his legs off the side of it. Like it's a little thing, but it breaks that plane of what is sort of the ground, and I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, that one was really good. That kind of caught my eye. So
all right, maybe we'll turn our attention back to armor models, and I guess maybe Adam, I'll call on you. What are a couple that stuck out to you?
The ones that stuck out to me was the that 148th Yak Panther that we were all talking about earlier reminds me of one that I did for the first two books that I published. I thought it was well done, and the weathering looks good, and it looks apart. And I agree, I didn't think it was 148th as well, especially the way the numbers those look like they're hand painted on. So that'd be tough for me to do. Another one that stuck out was the of course the was it the Yag Tiger Porsche suspension by Anderson. I think we talked about that already. And the chipping on, especially on the lower hull where the fenders were initially attached. I thought that was great. Another one I liked, there was a Cromwell by Offenbacher, and I liked the close-up photos he took of it. That's what I enjoy about modeling, where you can get a sense of detail, fine painting, and different types of stowage, and then you can just take a lot of up-close shots, and which is cool because you can take one model, and if you have a if it's detailed in a way where you can take a lot of close-up photos, you can take that one model and just carry it out so much further with so many different photos drawing attention to different part. That was one that I really enjoyed also. There was a Soviet Matilda that was really nice, kind of going up the looked like an incline in the snow. That was that's a subject I've always wanted to do. And what else? As far as there was, and I think it's and I'm sorry, my aircraft, I don't remember the names like I used to. There was, I think it looked like a Hellcat from a guy named Wisdom 4.
It's a Wildcat.
The Wildcat, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
Eric Wisdom's. Yeah, it's
Love
nice.
the colors, great subject. I've always loved the American aircraft in the Second War, much more than some of the other countries. So those were kind of my picks, or the ones that stuck out to me. Of course, yeah, the National by John Stone. I like the disc camo on it. I've been wanting to do one of those myself, but I just keep putting it off. So just for whatever reason, I don't know why, but that was inspirational too. A lot of good work. It took me a while to go down and look at all these. I had to go through it twice. And like you guys, I was pretty impressed with the amount of entries. I was like, oh boy, I think I waited too long to start looking at this. Very good work from everybody. Very nice.
What we'll do, I think, is swing around at the end because a number of you have multiple entries, and we'll force you. We'll put the heat lamp on you and make you pick one. But anyway, yeah, we'll do that at the end.
If I can get off mute. So yeah, maybe we'll just round out a few more discussions, then we'll pick our top armor and call it a day. So Spud, I know you've talked about a few already. Any of them that we haven't discussed that you'd like to highlight?
Just having a look through really. There was an IS2 in like the Berlin scheme, which was really nicely weathered as
Frank
well.
Donati. Yeah.
That's another one that caught my eye. And again, it's just I had to keep reminding myself that I was looking at 48 scale vehicles, because they stood up so well, even to, zooming in on the picture and onto the photograph and that, and yeah, another really, really nicely executed model.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. There's not really any bad ones. Sorry, I think somebody was going to say something.
I apologize. I was going to bring up too. There's a T-3045 on Cobblestone Road. I think the model was Herring, and that was painted really well too.
Cliffs.
That when you asked my opinion, but that was another one that stuck out to me.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Oh, all good. Martin, any others to highlight from your end?
If I can bring light on something else apart from the model quality itself, it's the overall photographic presentation. And here I would like to pinpoint two complete opposites. One is the Marder, which I think Scott mentioned, shot on a black background. And that just makes it stand out so well. Like the photography is spot on. There's just something about photographing your models on a black background and not completely blowing out the foreground, which is the area under the model, that you can actually see that it's a fabric or some kind of material that you use, and a completely background behind it. It's just so nice. It's like the model itself glows. It looks completely different than in real life. So that's really beautiful. It's like an old painting, And in the complete opposite, and this is something that I recruited my girlfriend to help me with, to put a completely different perspective, but I also appreciate this kind of photograph. It's the Churchill crocodile photographed on the mulch. And I know many people would just, shrug it off like, yeah, it's a model photographed in a natural landscape. But I don't know, it just looks nice. It's a completely different perspective, completely different approach to photography, and there's just something really appealing about it.
And I think we've all done it too in the past when we were
Yeah,
kids
yeah,
or younger or
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah.
We've all put it outside, try to get the natural light on it and the natural background.
Yeah, Sam, you probably hit the nail on the head because I couldn't really pinpoint what I really liked about it. Like, yeah, my girlfriend said it just, oh, it looks cute. And for me, it's the natural sunlight, the harsh shadows, just like in on a real vehicle
Yep.
that only sunlight can produce.
I must admit, as Martin had said, from when I was editing the magazines back in the day, I'd have loved to have had photography of this standard with a lot of the models that were sent in for articles. Many a time I've had to drive to go and collect a model to take better pictures, where someone's just not got the equipment. But, when you think, I would say the majority of these were taken on probably a mobile phone. And it just shows how things have progressed. And, it makes such a difference that, people can build the most fantastic model, but if the photos don't work, the detail gets lost. But, all of the ones that have been submitted, you look at all those pictures, you can zoom in, you can see every tiny little detail. And, so yeah, it just shows how things have moved on in a very good way.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that there was a lot of really good photography in this, and whether it was like the details on models, like we were talking about John Bryan's mosquito, and the photography, I think, really brought out some of the subtle details of that, and then some of these armor pieces like we've been talking about, and even depth of field. Some of the photographs of like your vignettes and dioramas really did a good job with presenting the model sort of in relief to the background and those kind of things. So yeah, I thought that was really, really good. Let's see, John, you haven't mentioned, John, why don't you talk about maybe some that stood out to you?
Oh man, I think a lot of it's been talked about already, but I really love Kevin Kelly's interpretation of the comic book cover. I really enjoy, as Martin said, there's a lot of, opposites in this group in terms of approach, photography, style, and I'm really appreciative of just that diverse nature of all the entries. And as I mentioned, Kevin Kelly's Tiger One bursting through the brick wall with the Jerry's or no, those are Americans with the bazooka pointing at the gray Jerry tank, and he's even done like the comic shading, which I think is really cool. You've seen some people do that with cars, and I freaking love it. It's so stylistic. It probably blows some judges' minds, but I just really appreciate that take on the hobby. Again, Joshua Scott's Hetzer, it's unique. It's something that we weren't expecting. Love it there. Let's see who else. Like we've called out a bunch here, and it's everything from dioramas to single vehicles. Martin Holst breaking the third wall, I guess you can say, and doing a little Deadpool action on us. I really enjoyed. So bottom line is I'm just really impressed with everything, and some of the photography that stuck out the most to me, I believe it's Zach Smith's Panther. He had just really crisp photography on a gray background. I just want to give him a shout out for that. I think his pictures came out really, really, really nice, and they're rich in color as well. They're not too desaturated or blown out. Sometimes you see with like the off color backgrounds, and especially this is going to be really weird, but like black, I like shooting on it's almost like felt or like a velour where it like sucks in the light, and it's really difficult, I find, sometimes to get a good photo on a background that's like a paper. But he did a really good job. I guess a long story short is I appreciate his ability to photograph. As we called out, Eric Wisdom's awesome Hellcat. And then from the aircraft perspective as well, there's an F-16. I believe it's in Air National Guard markings. It's made by Russell Wells. And for me, it's not only execution, it's really well done, but I just like the colors too. It's in that aggressor splinter scheme. It's got the giant, Air National Guard. I believe it's Air National Guard. I'm going to triple check here. the giant logo on the back of the vertical stab. It's yellow, it's blue. It contrasts really well with the rest of the aircraft. So
Well, yeah, John, and a couple things I wanted to bring up that were maybe a little bit out of the ordinary, but were awesome, and I think really encapsulated the spirit of the group build. The first one we've talked about, and that was Black Hat scale models with the Cromwell diorama. Martin spoke about it, and I think a couple other people too. But to actually do a couple of different Cromwells, different intakes, and finish it all very to a very high level and do that all in 6 weeks, have to call that out. That was really, really great. And we had some father son duos, and that was really cool. One of my favorites was a guy that goes on the posse. He goes by Invincible Fred. His name is Mark Segstro, and his dad, Marcel Segstro. And they both finished. One of them did. Mark did a Kyofu, I believe is how you say that. Hopefully, Sam, I got that right. And his dad did a P-47D, and it was really, really awesome. And I also noted that his dad, during the group build, went out and purchased several other models. He had such a good time doing it. So that was really, really great. And then, John, I think there was another father-son duo that we had as well.
yeah, there was two. So there was a Dutch gentleman and his son, so Dennis and Oliver Loop. We got a chance to meet them at SMC, which was great. Give him and his son a coin. We also gave his daughter a coin too. So really big shout out to them. They're great supporters of the podcast. We've known Dennis a long time. And then also I got to highlight Glenn Phelan and his son, Glenn Jr. They're out of Ireland, right outside Dublin. I have a soft spot in my heart for Glenn. He took care of me and my wife when we were in Dublin. So really happy to see him participate and also make it part of his son's adventure as well. And both of them finished, both groups, I should say, along with Mark and Marcel. So super happy. And I think that just shows another great example of the community we're trying to build here. And very reminiscent of times when I had grown up in the scale modeling world and times I missed. So really, really happy to see that stuff. That's what it's all about. And grateful that they participated and maybe we'll do it again. And hell, I'd love to have them on to talk about their experience too.
Yeah, that sounds really good. All right, well, let's get to maybe kind of where the rubber meets the road here. I've got a list here of names, and some of you will start with Sam and Chris, because I think you guys, if I understand it right, you've got Robbie Knopf's, John Bryan, and Justin Lentz. Are those your kind of collective picks for the best of aircraft?
Yeah,
Yep.
we had pretty
Yep.
immediate consensus on those three.
All right, so those are, I want to say best. I shouldn't say that, just favorites. So those are your
Yep.
favorites. So we'll go with those. We'll go with those three, and then let's circle back around to Rick. What was your favorite, the Tiger thing, or we gonna do something else?
I want to make one more mention here that I think it's been
Okay.
on a couple of people's lists that we've been sharing, but hasn't been spoken of yet. It's Wassel. Is that his name? He did a M1 Abrams.
Yeah, Dave Wassel.
yeah,
we
yeah,
covered
yeah.
this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw
sharp.
that one.
That
Yeah.
one's high up on my list, and I saw it on a couple of other people's lists too. So that one certainly needs to be shouted out. And actually, I think I have him in like second or third place. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Anderson as my number one, probably Aaron as my number two, and Wassel with my number three. And then my firecracker build is John Bonanni's Panzer IV.
Okay, so
We're not supposed to
Andrew.
talk about that.
I'm looking
I'll bring
forward to it.
But Banani,
Gonna go to his
who
head.
is it? Yeah.
I'll bring it to the Northwest Scale Model Show and we can shoot it with a BB gun.
Sounds good.
All right, Spud, what's your favorite of all the ones we've spoken about?
I'm going to have to say the John Anderson's Porsche Jag Tiger. That was my sort of standout favorite. Recognized that scheme straight away from the photos. So yeah, really, really well executed.
He had help from Sam, so he cheated.
That's a hindrance,
Totally.
believe me.
Totally cheated.
All I did was spam him with photos of the real tank. So.
All
After he
right.
finished painting it, or
Totally pointing out every error he'd made.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the only way to do it. Isn't it?
Mr. Banani, what would your pick a favorite? I know that's hard, but pick a favorite for me.
I got to go with Kevin Kelly's.
Okay.
It's just such a unique subject. I'm with Rick. It stands out because it's unique, and I pick it because in a sea of great models, you'll always remember it because it was so unique.
Which one is it, John?
It's the comic book
Oh, of
cover
course, yes.
replicate. Yeah, it's like boom, punches you in the face, really cool, and I hope to see it in person one day.
All right. Uncle Martin, what's your favorite?
The Cromwell diorama for sure.
Okay. Diorama. Weird that Martin would pick a diorama, huh?
Oh,
Couldn't see that one coming. And Adam, what's your favorite?
Probably the 148th Panther from Kook 3.
Okay.
And someone referred to one build as a firecracker build or something. There was another Yak Panther on there that was in Primer Red from I think it was
Yeah.
and like he took all the decals from that elephant one Martin did recently and stuck them on that. I thought that was a pretty good idea. Right? That was one that I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
That was talked about it yet.
yeah, they're actually the same ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Bill Moore. Super nice. Bill's a
Yeah,
great guy
Bill
too.
Moore. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got all these names. You guys know all these people.
You got to get out more, Adam.
I'm just become a hermit here in my hobby room.
I just got to say that we've mentioned Aaron Cook's name too much.
I know, seriously.
He's already insufferable.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez, oh man. At a show, he's just going to be walking around. He can't even fit through doors.
I know.
All
Hit that
right.
edit button, Scott, when you put this together.
God
That's
almighty.
Right. That's right.
He's gone from
Use
6 to midnight listening to this.
Get an AI filter that filters out names when there's multiple mentions, right? I'm going to go for my favorite. There was a lot of terrific ones. I'm going to go Ian Bonner with his early Stug 3. That one really spoke to me.
Yeah.
I think we spoke about, the painting of the stowage on it. And I thought that really, really looked good. And then I'm also going to, because I am also going to recognize Invincible Fred and his dad, and we're going to award them as well because of what they brought to the group build. It was awesome, and his dad, like I said, was building other kits, and so I think really just taking that spirit of what we were trying to do and really going forward with that. So we're going to recognize him as well. For all of the favorites, we are going to send out gift certificates, and we'll take care of that behind the scenes. So as you're hearing this, we'll work with you and get a gift certificate out to each and every one of you. And then, gentlemen on this call, thank you so very much. We appreciate your perspective and being willing to kind of take a look at the work of the people in our group.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Sit around and look at models. I don't know, man. That's
It's a big ask.
Been tough.
Sam is like, I want to get to the beach, Scott, wrap it up. And Martin's like, I want to go to bed. Come on, man. All right.
It's a great excuse to sit around and talk about models. It's all good.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for your generosity and your time. This was a lot of fun, and to everybody that participated, thank you, and to the ones that were selected as favorites, congratulations, and happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you, and to you, Scott.
Thank all of you.
Yep.
happy holidays.
Thanks all. Really
Thanks, guys.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Merry
All
Christmas.
the
Happy
best to
holidays.
everyone.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
All right. Hopefully you enjoyed that segment. Appreciate those guys taking the time. And once again, thank you to everybody that finished, and congratulations to the people who were selected. And we will get some prizes out to you shortly. Well, let's kick it back on over to TJ for some cross promotion.
Yeah, just a reminder that the Plastic Posse is one of several great scale modeling podcasts. If you are interested in more scale modeling content, you can head on over to modelpodcast.com, where you will find links to many other great podcasts about our hobby. The Posse also recommends several excellent modeling blogs and vlogs, such as Rick Lawler's Propaganda YouTube channel, Clayton Ockerby's Workbench Hobbies YouTube channel, Stephen Lee's Sprue Pie with Frets, Chris Wallace's Model Airplane Maker, Jim Bates' Scale Canadian TV, and David Brian Bridges' DB Scale Model Studio blog.
Hey, Jensen, you still with us?
Oh, I'm here.
That Snuggie, man, I really, really want a cheeseburger. I mean, bad.
I know, it's subliminal messaging gone mad.
Hey, what over there in the UK? What time is it?
Well, it's quite dark out, Do you hear that sound? That's the sound of carol singers. Ding dong merrily on high, the podcast elves are cheering. That's right, if you would like to rep the posse this festive season, check out our awesome merch on the Triple P Spring page. You can find coffee mugs, t-shirts, jumpers, or even some of our world-famous Triple P lounge trousers. You can order all your stylish plastic posse merch on the web at loungetrousers.com this festive season.
You just never know where that's gonna go.
I'm not gonna lie, I never know where it's gonna go. It just happens. Let Scott recover. Give him a sec.
Do you want me to just take it away, Scott? Okay. Scott's tapped out, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Well, thank you for that festive moment, Jensen. I think it's really fitting for this time of the year, and who doesn't love Christmas and the holidays? So with that, I want to thank everyone for riding along, not only in episode 108, but the entire year with the Plastic Posse. We appreciate your support, especially our amazing Patreons. It's been a great year. Every year doesn't turn out the way you want it to, but I think we can all agree that it was a great year. From seeing each other at shows to laughing during recordings to meeting new friends and catching up with old ones. It's just been, again, a wonderful year. And, we lost a few close friends and we'll always remember them. So just remember, be happy, be healthy, and always stay positive. I think it's really important to, focus on yourself. This is a hobby, but at the end of the day, you're number one. And we hope to see you online, in person, and anywhere else where the Plastic Posse can be found. So with that, we want to thank again our sponsors, Tankcraft, Bases by Bill, Tamiya USA, AK Interactive. Without them and our Patreon supporters, none of this is possible. And, you can check us out on YouTube. We'll say one of our goals for 2025 is to bolster that content. We will return shortly after the break of the holidays. Hope everyone has a healthy, happy new year, and can't wait to see you again. So with that, if you have any feedback, suggestions, ideas, or just want to drop us a line, please do that via personal message on our Facebook or Instagram or YouTube pages at plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com. And with that, yeehaw!
One of the ways that you can help to support the Plastic Posse is to become an Outrider. And if you want to become an Outrider, it's so easy. You can even do it wearing lounge trousers, cheeseburger snuggies. You just go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Plastic Posse Podcast, and you can set up a recurring donation there. These contributions help us offset the cost of bringing you the posse. There are 3 different tiers of support, and they start at just $1 a month. There's some great benefits you're going to get if you become an Outrider, like early access to podcasts, premium access to the hosts, the chance to appear on the podcast, and of course, exclusive Triple P content and social events at model shows.
Let's recognize our amazing deputy marshals. These contributors help the posse do what we do, and we sincerely thank them for their support. They are, in no particular order, Richard Lane, Robbie Knopfs, Wesley Becker, Eric DeGleesh, David Wassel, Matt Tutman, Glenn Fellon, Patrick Neff, Zach Pease, Robert Halleck, Brett Marquand, Craig Williams, Nick Wolf, Brian Clark, Sean Earl, Black Hat Scale Models, Ben Hardaway, Craig Jarbo, Adam Jackson, Red Beach One Studios, James Rondo, Mike Norris, Stephen Rodwell, Rick Cooper, Eric Ravina, John Hale, happy birthday, Eric Kane, Logan Hansen, Paul Burdett, Tim Gidcombe, Dan Newman, Robert Blocker, Tyler Moore, Derek Post, Craig Flynn, Kenneth Childress, Nick Butta, Drew Gardner, Scott Hall, Frank Perone, The Voice of Bob, Jeremy Diamond, Ryan Smith, Terry Wilkinson, Chris Lovewell, Andrew Callis, Ethan Idemill, Steve Baker, Joe Porche, Patrick Brown, Jay Kidd, Brandon Gentry, Lee Fogel, Robert Klein, Mark Ewing, Toadman, Model Doc, Doug Reed, Greg James, Les Ricala, John Everett, Uncle Buck, Mark Bradley, Eric Brubaker, Jeremy Moore, DB Scale Model Studio, Matt Johnson, Jeremy Elliott, Mike Telly, Previous Seat, Mediocre Middle-Aged Modeler, Dan Knopfel, and JC Osborne.
Let's not forget our posse foreman. This crew is made up of posse outriders who give the deputy marshals a hand, and we also thank them for their support. David, Keith, Scale Bottlecraft, Dwayne, AK Armor, Bill, JAK, Casey, Therese, Raphael, Russ, Stefan, Mikkel, Lavar, Gil, Mike, Michael, Steve, Scott, Emery, The Krieger, Ozzy Modler, William, Jeff, Eddie, Ross, Warhoff Models, G. Baker, Tom Stuff, Crazy Loca, Ken, Cliff, Damien, Cody, Nuke Man, Mike, Ash, Irish Pat, Paul, iBones Models, Mr. Grizz, Jackson, Joel, Chris, Robert, Jamie, MD Models, Papa Steve Munsell, JV, Eric, Matthew, and David.
And of course, our $1 and free posse outriders like John Tursadell. Thanks, John.